The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
Tonight. We didn't get everyone on that I was hoping for. I really wanted to make this a good going out. Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Because I don't want to have to restart my... Yeah, I know. I
can hear you.
Every once in a while, my stupid thing gets stupid. Like, you know, because it's stupid. And my microphone gets really quiet. And I turn up everything all the way. And it just stays where it's at, which is I've pumped everything up to the maximum right now. So yeah, tonight we have a pretty full cast. We don't have everybody. I was hoping to get everybody that had ever been a co-host on the podcast on, and as of right now, 3 people are missing, but that's okay. We still got a pretty packed house, and we're gonna just do quick little intros for everybody, so you all know who's all here. And then we're going to start telling the stories about our experiences being part of this podcast, which definitely has impacted our lives. So obviously, I'm E. I'm the founder of this. This was my brainchild. Bexy was the one that really pushed hard for me to get going on this. Because of her, I went and signed up on a how to start a podcast website. I followed the steps, and we eventually got to the point where I was running it with KZ, who may be on later. The KZ eventually had to leave, and Bexy came on and became the co-host. But again, she's not here now. But the next official co-host, chronologically speaking, we got was C, when we expanded out to 3. And C is here, so why don't you go ahead and say hi.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys?
So, once we had C on, which is great to see you again. It's been a long time. It has been a very long time. It has. We eventually expanded out. We got Oz to come on, who is here tonight. He's just on mute, waiting for him to unmute. There we go.
What's for my mental fam?
And he was definitely a big influence to help really push this to keep going. And he brought along Sarah, who has been very awesome and helpful.
Oh, hi guys.
And we had one of the first guest hosts, one of our first guests, and probably one person that sent us more of the best guests that we had, Ivania.
Hey.
And
hi, everybody.
And the one co-host that you haven't heard yet, but you will next week when I publish our, so far, the only pre-recorded episode, but we may have others. The other Sarah, our most frequent guest, and also now a co-host as of next week. Yeah, I figured that one out.
Hi, guys.
So yeah, we got the whole family here for the most part. So the way I wanted to do this is I kind of wanted to go through chronologically, the way we just did it, and kind of give a little bit about, like the good that this podcast had brought. For me personally, I think the biggest positive I got is I got better at learning how to listen to people, how to better express myself. I got some really good self-help books that I'm going through and have gone through. A lot of really good advice from people, and I generally feel that I am more aware of myself and those around me. That's probably the biggest positives I got. How about you, C?
I would say for me, the biggest thing that I got out of it was I feel like I started opening up more in terms of my personality and uh, how introverted I can be. I feel like I've become more talkative. I can uh, more happy, bubbly. I can keep on a conversation and just keep going. I'm actually happy to talk about things, not annoyed that someone's even talking to me. Um, all that stuff. I feel like it really did help me come out of my shell. And I think it also helped me come to terms with things on my own, like things that I've experienced just by talking about it. Because I feel like that's the most helpful for me, just talking things out. So I think that's all I got out of it. And it's
Nice.
wonderful.
And I did get a little brother out of it.
Yes, you did. And I got an older brother too.
Nice. And we just lost Oz. Like, he was blown out of vape cloud and it just froze. And he just so while we wait for him to reconnect, Sarah, how about you? Well, I'll say Sarah 1 because we have Sarah 1. Sarah without the H.
Okay. Um, for me, like this all happened at like kind of a blow up-y point in my life. So it actually it kind of gave me a bit of perspective on, you know, the whole not alone thing. And I'm definitely more open now and I don't hide out as much. Which I used to do a lot. And my handsomer half has returned.
Yeah, well, it's still connecting. We don't have any confirmation other than a connection.
A name, yeah.
A name.
And a couple of white blobs, which he's usually much cuter than that.
All I have is just Oss's iPhone.
And 12 p.m. for some reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
and 12 p.m.
Phone overheated, joining on Mac, and we just lost Sarah with an H. This is gonna be fun.
Oh no!
Oh.
Oh no!
It looks like Sarah with an H won't be on for too long. Have to celebrate nephew's first marathon. That is awesome. So while we're waiting for Oz to get audio, let's go to Ivania.
Sorry, I'm driving. I was turning a corner. I couldn't do it right that second. So I originally came on as a guest, which was incredibly therapeutic for me because it was the first time that I told that story from beginning to end. I mean, it was hard. I think we all cried. I think we all laughed. I think we all had discussions we probably shouldn't have put on the internet. So that was very cathartic and therapeutic for me. And then the best thing that I found after that, especially being a co-host, was giving other people the opportunity to have that as well. From the times I sat in with you when you needed somebody to back up, or the guests that I brought to you, it was nice to have a part in their healing process as well.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, there's some bad that's coming. We'll get to it. But no, definitely it was awesome having you on. Like I told C earlier, you're my best friend. You are, hands down. There's no competition. Even when we absolutely can't stand each other anymore, don't want to talk to each other again, that doesn't last very long. So, Oz, how about you? What's been your good, like, major positive takeaway from the podcast?
I mean, seeing people grow from sharing their experiences, and maybe not for a lot of our guests, it's hard while they're sharing it, but having those follow-up conversations with them and seeing them be lighter, after, and then even discussing things, off air that they didn't realize that, they broke through some barriers while sharing, and seeing them move on, with the new understandings to the things that they often felt traumatic. Having a small piece of that piece of healing was awesome.
Definitely. And now Sarah with an H, you co-host next week's episode. We recorded that last week.
Yeah, we did.
And you can go ahead and even speak as a guest, since you have been a guest more than a co-host.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm gonna speak as a listener.
Okay.
Instead of a guest. I am going to speak as somebody who listens to this podcast when I drive to Portland to see my daughter. And I am going to say that the biggest things that have happened to and for me with it are I completely got over my imposter syndrome. And I appreciate you all for that very, very much.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes.
And then one of the best, other than that, the other, like, my holy hell is I seriously was able to take to my therapist a whole bunch of different possible diagnoses that I thought, oh, okay, that's totally me. Like, that's totally me. And I've never been able to understand what's going on in my head, but that's me. And take it to him and talk about that and learn that, yeah, I do have ADHD that I never knew. So I learned a lot of my tendencies and what they were from everybody else. And that was a blessing.
Awesome. I could have told you had ADHD, to be honest.
Boy, I just know I'm nuts.
It's like one ADHD person to another. I see you.
Yeah, well, I had no idea. So that one has been a huge blessing because it's given me the opportunity to see what it is and then find tools.
And I will say, from having you help me on that episode with Jewel coming out next Saturday, I couldn't have done that episode without you. You were able to bridge that gap of understanding that I don't have. Since I've never gone through recovery, I have an addictive personality, which is why I've always been very cautious with what I get myself involved in. And to have you there to be able to help talk to someone who's going through their first year with your experience that you had, invaluable. There were so many times I was like, I have nothing to say. I don't know what I'm supposed to say here. And you were just like, yeah, I got this.
It was a lot of... I learned how important a co-host is because I had my trigger moment that I was like, I have to dip for a second and I can't handle this.
Yeah.
So that was an experience. Very eye-opening and I loved it.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing saying that we can't continue going forward with recorded episodes. There's nothing saying that this podcast can't come back. It's just right now, it just kind of feels done. Us, C, Sarah, you three are in the group chat. You've seen how often that comes up. Do we have a guest this week? No. Have we been looking? Yes.
Or how often we get a guest and then they bail last minute or just don't show up and ghost.
Yeah.
Which is really, really kind of difficult.
And I think
Which is why we've been guests and hosts a lot.
Yes. And I think C was there the one time we had a guest who, during the intro music, they went, I can't do this, and dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Difficult.
Yeah, and again, that's like, what kind of a podcast, mental health podcast would we be if we were to contact and be like, look, asshole, you committed to this. No, that would be so counterproductive.
Right. But it still sucks,
Yeah, which part of the reason that this podcast, for me, I am ending my part of it, is because of the hypocritical part of it, the stress of not being able to book guests like we used to. Again, what's changed? Pandemic's over. During the pandemic, guests were easy. I was able to line up 2 seasons worth of guests. Pandemic ends, people start getting their lives back together, getting committed to a bunch of stuff again, and it's hard to get someone to commit. It's easy to get the soft commit of, yeah, I'll come on your podcast. But then trying to nail down a date, it's like trying to put your thumb on a beetle that's like the very soft, like a very, almost like try to catch a cockroach. You just can't.
Are you calling us cockroaches?
Just
I wasn't
me.
going to say it.
No. But and also, there were other things that this podcast did cause some issues. I'm just going to peel the Band-Aid right off. Ivania and I, we had nearly had a complete falling out. Some of it due to the podcast, some of it due to other issues. But this podcast, got her going on a novel, and then the novel's now been put on hold. Ivania, you want to jump on and talk about it? And I will say,
not especially, but I will.
I mean, I did talk to Bexy. She's not avoiding this episode. Again, she has some personal issues going on. She has health issues going on. She was practically crying when she was letting me know she couldn't come on. Like, it was last minute. She was like, I just can't do it. She's been trying all day.
Or Bexy.
Yeah, I feel for her. So I'll start off because I'm sure she's listening, or she will. I was never upset with Bexy. I'm just going to put that out here right now, this very second. But what happened was I came on as a guest my first time, and I spoke about my perspective as a caregiver for a sexual abuse victim and how caregivers are often put on the back burner. I told my story. It was great, like being able to tell it from beginning to end. And during the podcast, I mentioned that at one point I wanted to write a book for the caregivers of victims, to let them know they were not alone, let them know they were, what they were feeling was normal. I started working with a trauma counselor to kind of get through. And what I was going to do is compile a bunch of people's stories and put it together and issue it at self-publish and just leave it at the Rape Crisis Center for people. E asked me to come back to talk about it, and I started retelling the story, reading some excerpts from what I had written.
And the whole premise of the book was, what about me?
Yeah, that's the name of the book, is What About Me, because caregivers are often forgotten about in situations like that. So as I was going through it, poor Bexy just lost it. She started crying hysterically. And we were like, hey, are you okay? And she went into her personal stories of being an actual victim. So the focus shifted.
It triggered her.
Rightfully. Yes. The focus shifted rightfully to taking care of Bexy and making sure that she was mentally okay, that she felt supported, etc. And then we ended the podcast. So a couple of days later, or maybe even the next day, I reached out to E and I said, hey, I need to talk to you, but please don't get upset. And he said, okay, what's up? And I told him I felt kind of blown off during the podcast because this whole focus was supposed to be, hey, the caregivers get forgotten about. And then Bexy got triggered and I was forgotten about. And I love you, E. I do.
I love you too.
But his response to me was, I don't know what to tell you. There were two victims of the same crime there, which completely dismissed the entire purpose of what I was trying to do there. So I've since realized that I'm not ready to write that book. I'm not the advocate that I thought I wanted to be. So it's on hold.
If there's anything I can do to help get that on track again, anything. I mean,
it's probably going to take another 20 years for me to get there, dude.
I would like to wholeheartedly volunteer to assist you in that as well. It's I am a caretaker myself, and it's a really new and complicated situation. So I would love to support you in that when you are ready.
That's very sweet. Thank you. I'm not there because the whole idea of being an advocate for the caretakers, I couldn't do it. I wasn't there. I was put to the test and I failed it. And instead of trying to express that to E when I was like, hey, this is what happened, which is what the original plan was, I just got pissed off. And that's actually when I fell off of listening and guesting on the podcast. But again, I want to reiterate that was not about Bexy. It never was, and it never will be.
Thank you for that. And yeah, and I could say honestly, I did learn from that experience as well. That was clearly that was not the right answer. I was trying to be sensitive to everybody, and in the process, I was not honest to the situation. And I think that's where my failure comes from in that. I don't know how else I can ever apologize to you other than, like, you know, as Oz pointed out, the best apology is change behavior, and I am trying to change. I'm trying to stay more honest to the situation, and if it's a judgment call or a feeling call, I'm going to be honest to my feelings and my judgment, and I'm sorry if it hurts. But I think that's the best way I could do, as opposed to trying to play peacekeeper, and what I always do. That's one of my biggest.
Well, the reality was you felt like you were put in a place between two of your very best friends. Mm-hmm. And you were reactionary over it, which is why I prefaced it. Please don't get mad, but this is what's going on. And probably also why I got upset with you, because I've always been able to be honest with you. I've always been able to get your support. You've always been able to get mine. And when I came to you in that very vulnerable state of, hey, this really hurt me, it felt like you were like, oh, yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
No, I never wanted
needed more. Bexy needed more at that time. Boom, caretaker, back burner.
Right. And I understand where you're coming from with that. That was never my intent. I understand that's where it came from. And I am sorry.
I know.
I definitely didn't get mad. Long time ago. I didn't get mad. I got distraught because all of a sudden I just felt this pull. And I panicked. Okay? I panicked.
Ivania?
Yes,
would you mind if I pipe in for a second?
Go ahead.
I don't know much about the situation. I maybe put my foot in it. I don't know. But I don't think advocates are or should be expected to be perfect. You know, the purpose is to shine a light on a need that you see. And it feels like, you know, even if you feel like you screwed up or failed in a situation, you are definitely equipped to do that. And it seems like, you know, you have the experience and the passion, and you're working on a book. And I mean, it feels like a waste if that goes to the back burner, because, you know, there are people who need you. So maybe just don't be so hard on yourself, Mama.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I am now very well medicated.
Good for you.
And both my therapist and my psychiatrist are encouraging me to proceed and move forward with it. The problem is not so much that I'm a failure as an advocate, because you're right. Nobody's perfect. Everybody fails and they learn from it. And I fully understand that, and I support that, and whatever. It's just after the podcast, when I was originally a guest, I had like this motivation and this drive and this need to get it out there. And after that conversation I had with E after the second guest time, it kind of killed it. And it's a very difficult subject, and it was a very difficult time in my life. So I have to build that back up before I can proceed with it.
I get that. I hope you can find it. It sounds like very important work.
I mean, look at me. I started a mental health podcast, and I'm far from perfect or mentally stable. Far from it. And no, it is.
It makes you an expert.
But
something else I learned through the podcast where that kind of ties into this subject from talking with Sarah about them is that we don't often, like as an advocate or a caregiver, we don't often give ourselves the grace that we give the people we're helping. Um, and that could be, and we can sometimes hold ourselves to a standard that we think is ideal, but may not be realistic.
Okay, Oz,
So
if you're just going to sit here and be logical with me, I'm signing off right now.
It's not how this works.
yeah, it's because there's a lot of conversations that I had with Sarah after the fact. Sarah No H. That she would tell me I'm being too hard on myself, and so I'm like, okay, and I'm actually seeking a new therapist now to to tackle that specific issue, because I have a lot of black and white thinking, and I don't necessarily apply that to other people, but the standard I hold myself to, which has helped me become the person that I like, is made some aspects of my life unbearable because of that standard. But it's a hard hump to get over.
Yeah, and Sarah with the H recently had a video that they posted on their personal Facebook page, which lately has just been an amazing resource for mental health stuff. Like, holy shit. Recently posted a video about your cup versus the cup of the people that you take care of. And, yeah, she's sitting there nodding. She's driving. She's on mute. She's nodded. But I will say that she has had a heavier hand in this podcast than some people may realize. A lot of the content that goes up on our Facebook page, it's either me poaching it or me going on to her going, hey, there's a podcast page that might like this post. And then I gave her permission to be able to post on it. So,
hey, there's a podcast. Comment.
Yep. But no, that, and I mean, I could almost see, like when you were talking about the giving yourself grace, I could almost see Sarah H going, hey, there was a video about this.
Legit, that's exactly what went through my head. I was like, I just put that on the page.
Yep.
That is one of Austin's favorite sayings, is talking about people with pints and people with shot glasses.
Yep.
Oh, please share that.
So I usually, when I'm helping people when they're going through relationship issues, and like through life, your capacity for anything will change, as you grow and depending on what's going on. But if you're asking somebody to put in work and you look at them holistically, you can't ever ask for more than 100%. Now, your glass could be a pint glass, and you're able to offer a pint glass into something. But if somebody's glass is a shot glass, but they're still giving you 100% of that shot glass, you can't ask for more than that shot glass, right? It's one of the importance of looking at people holistically and looking at them, meeting them where they're at instead of passing judgment against where you're at. As long as they're giving you 100% and you understand them and you see them and you know them, that should be good. And we shouldn't ever push people past that overflowing point, because then you end up with a mess.
Yeah, you're going to wind up feeling like they're slighting you. They're going to feel like you're asking too much.
They'll be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's insanely spot on. I'm usually a gallon plus capacity girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, legitimately, I am totally like, I can take almost anything. I am the gallon plus capacity girl. Right now, I am the infant Tylenol dropper girl.
Yeah.
That's been me this last year when I said I had a big blow up messy time, like right around the time Austin introduced me to this podcast. That was exactly it. Like, panic attacks started coming, and I've always been the one to take care of everybody else. And I guess eventually my body got to a point where it was like, screw you, lady, we're done with this.
And that's totally it. And the thing is people are so used to what you can, like what your capacity normally is. And so when you have things coming at you from all the 8 million different angles, and suddenly your capacity has shrunk because the gallon is full and all that's left is that dropper, they have a tendency not to even realize it and just unfortunately sometimes load more on.
Yeah.
Well, and it's hard to admit when you get to that place. Like, I was way harder on myself than anybody was on me, you know?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. So
on that note, I'm going to jump in here. I'm reading a book right now that my therapist wants me to read. She's really mean to me. She makes me face stuff. But
hey, you're making me go through the subtle art of not giving a fuck, and I felt really goddamn attacked recently.
That was a very, very personally attacking book, okay?
Yeah, I had to set it down because I have to process.
Yeah, I would get mad at it. But the book that my therapist has me reading right now is called Codependent No More. And she talks a lot about, in that book, she's talking about how much you give and how much you give and how much you give. And part of it really upset me. I got to a part where they're talking about being a caregiver and to the point of your own detriment. And then she said, and the author says, you know, there's a difference between caregiving and acts of love. You can act out of love, but don't caregive to your own detriment. And I couldn't wrap my head around that. So when I talked to my therapist the next week, I told her, hey, I don't understand this. This is making me angry. I don't like it because that's who I am. I'm a mom. I'm this, I'm that. I care for the people that I love. Like, to me, caregiving is an act of love. So how do I separate it? So she says to me, okay, let me ask you a question. And I said, okay, what's that? She goes, who is the person you love most in the whole world? You know, outside of your kids, you know, because that's an obvious. Who do you love most in the whole world? And I said, well, that's obviously going to be my mom. She said, okay, let me ask you this. If your mom was dying and the only way to save her was to get back into a marriage with your ex-husband, would you do it? And I said, for the love of God, no. And she said, well, why? I said, well, for starters, she would kill me. I said, but I would know that if I did that to save my mom every day for the rest of her life, she would feel guilty. And my therapist said, and that's the difference between being a caregiver and an act of love.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow. That's powerful.
Right?
That's pretty amazing.
I saw
Sorry, I'm
something.
going to be legit. That book is one of the best books anybody can ever read if you give too much.
If you give too much?
Absolutely. If you are a giver, and you don't know how to stop, Codependent No More. Don't remember her first name. The last name's Beatty.
Yep.
The very first book any therapist ever gave me, and I cried my entire way through it because it just was so brutally honest about who I was inside.
Started giving these like self-help seminar type things, motivational speaker. She said something that kind of rocked my world. She talked about being, giving people too much as an act of self-hate. And that like knocked me on my ass because like, she's kind of right. You know, like I give so much, but really the basis of that was I didn't love myself. Like I thought, that was my purpose in the world essentially was to be a doormat. And like I said, it knocked me on my ass the first time I heard that.
So there was a saying that I heard once before that this was before the podcast started. This is something that Bexy and we had discussed multiple times, which is, oh god damn it, my mind just went blank because of course it fucking did.
Of course.
Of course. God. No, that basically what it is that altruism is the slowest method of suicide. And the people that talk about the virtues of altruism are some of the most selfish people you'll ever meet because they expect you to be altruistic. Anybody else notice that? Austin's just nodding.
Yeah, it's It's a pretty big mechanism of avoidance.
I mean,
You know,
we talked
when
about it
you're
plenty of times. You need to have self-care.
yeah, when you give and
Altruism
give, so
is,
you can,
yeah,
when you can focus on helping other people, so you don't have to focus on helping yourself. Like that has a shelf life. You know, you when you give through acts of kindness and care, but that giving starts to take pieces of you, that's a problem, right? If you can't take care of yourself, you aren't going to have the legs to keep taking care of the other people around you.
and if you ignore yourself long enough, it'll either kill you or you'll kill yourself.
Yep.
When it stops being care of anybody or anything, when it starts becoming self-sabotaging.
Yep. See, did you want to chime in with anything about the podcast that may have been less than spectacular?
Burnout, for sure. Sometimes, I don't know, I get really restless if I sit still for too long, and it gets me a little agitated sometimes. So that also would happen.
I noticed that a couple times, but like the episode, you just start getting that look on your face. You're like, I gotta go. I'm like, C's gonna go punch holes in walls now.
No, I'm gonna go against what I shouldn't be doing this, but I would go smoke. I would go outside, let me smoke a bowl, and then I would be all right for the most part. Sometimes.
Sometimes, and that's it. The key right there.
Yes, but it was mostly burnout for sure. I would just get kind of tired and I had really low motivation. But at the same time, I was also depressed, so that also makes sense.
Yes.
But I always felt bad, like for not coming, because I felt like I was letting you guys down. But I know you guys would want me to take care of myself.
Yep.
But at the same time, I wanted to join and be with you guys because I also liked being with you. So, you know, it was a double-edged sword, but I would say the good outweighs the bad.
Glad to hear that. Yeah, I absolutely love having you on. And I know I said it a lot of times during the episodes too, that you didn't say a lot, but when you did speak, you said a lot in very few words. And that's one of the things that I loved about having you on the show, is that you were, as you said, you're kind of a lurker. But when you have something to
Yes,
say,
for sure.
but when you have something to say, it's usually pretty profound, and that was really awesome to have.
Always the quiet ones you gotta watch out for.
Yeah.
And the small ones too.
Yeah. But no, I know that I'm making plans, and I am. C and I have talked a few times about getting together and hanging
Yes,
out,
doing karaoke.
do karaoke, something, because we don't live too far away. Like what, about an hour, hour and a half apart, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, when I said I got myself a little brother out of this, I really did, and I had no idea what was going to happen. It's like I just posted to the subreddit Mental Health saying, "Hey, I'm running this podcast. I'm looking for guests," and I get this message from this ditzy lion.
Yes. Bitsy Lion.
Yep. Going, hey, I
That's
want.
always been my username.
Yep, like, I want to be on the podcast, but I'm a minor. You were 17 at the time.
Yeah.
But I really want to try this, and all of a sudden, it's like I just barely got our website up. I was trying to set up forums because I wanted to do chat rooms and stuff on the website, and you signed up. You're the only person that signed up. Like, and it wasn't even live yet. It was still being built. This is before I went, why am I doing this? We have Discord. Let me just start as Discord. And then you came on, and your story was, I mean, first 3-hour story. First one that went the full 3 hours. And like I said, Betsy and I were just so floored with your story, your sincerity, the level of self-awareness that you showed for being so young. It was unbelievable. It was like speaking to an old soul. And like I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The first thing I texted Bexy as soon as the episode was over was co-host ? And her reply was just an immediate yes. So I immediately went to you going, hey, you want to co-host? And for those listening, we actually got C's mom. I have a recording of her giving explicit permission to have C on the episode just to cover our asses. But then you're now an adult. You've been an adult for a couple of years now. Yeah.
Yes.
Out of high school now. Yeah, it was awesome watching your journey, watching you change. Still remember that necklace.
The rainbow one. I still have it. It's hanging up right now.
Retired?
Yes, because when I was wearing it, the beads would just keep snapping off, so I'm missing a bunch of beads. So I was like, I want to save this. Hang it up on my wall now.
Yeah. No, and just getting to know you, like getting to know the real you, getting to, I mean, it's no secret that, you know, you're part of the LGBT community. We'll just put it that way.
Yes.
The look on your face when I approached you with that. I wish I had video of it. I wish I had video of it. The way you lit up when I asked, I think I asked, what are your pronouns?
Yes, it was exactly that. And I was just floored. Absolutely, like, speechless. I was like, just mouth agape, just kind of staring at you. And I was like, he, they, please?
And I was like, okay, that's what we'll do. You know, it's that simple.
Exactly.
And I know that we discussed, I think we discussed on air too, your decisions on holding off on certain things for brain development reasons and stuff. How are you doing with all that? Let's get an update. How are you doing with all that?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually talking to a gender specialist, and he is now my main therapist. We've talked about legally changing my name and gender on, like, my papers and all that type of stuff. I've got to look into the documents a little bit more, but we were getting into that. I know for sure sometime in the future I want to get top surgery. That is just something I'm 1,000% sure on.
Did you ever get in contact with Mark?
I don't think so, no.
I will see if I can get that arranged because they did go through top surgery. So
yeah,
maybe that way you can get a first-hand story from somebody that I know and trust and love as well.
That would be very nice, honestly. Maybe like sometime we would record something like that. It'd be pretty cool to know. As for HRT, I'm still thinking about it. There are some things I don't quite want, but there are other things that I do. So I'm still on the fence about it, and I still want to read up more on it, take my time. Take my time, really. I'm not trying to rush it because I know for some people, like not everyone, it's very, very, very small percent, but they may regret it, and self-doubt, I am always, what if I'm faking it? What if I'm just attention seeking? What if I actually am a girl and I'm just doing this?
Right.
That type of stuff. So it always makes me like just, back off on my decision for a little bit.
And I have to commend you on that self-awareness and that self-seeking and the questioning. I have to, because at your age, I had no self-awareness whatsoever. I ran headlong into everything and regretted it afterwards. So
sounds like she's more like me. She has almost a little too self-awareness. I'm sorry. No,
it's okay.
I'm sorry.
I accept your apology. It happens all the time. It really does.
I still do it on occasion, and C knows I'm pretty militant with people, including myself. When I do, I'm like, all right, shoot myself now.
Right. Right. So, but find your happy place, and then you won't have to question so much. And if you do, then like I said, you're just like me, and I'm a little too self-aware sometimes.
I will
But if
say,
that's your happy place, then just be in it.
I will say, in the last couple of years, since I've known C, happiest I've ever seen him is right now. And I've been watching this growth and this happiness come. I mean, I still remember the episode where we had to circle the wagons because he was in a very, 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 very dark spot. I know we started to fundraise to do a care package for you. I don't know if you ever got one or not. I think you did.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we were going to get you a bunch of art supplies and stuff, and I don't know whatever happened to that. I think the person that was organizing it just kind of fell apart. But yeah, we really wanted to get you all these art supplies and circle the wagons. I'm like, I'm texting you.
And I for sure appreciated it because at that time, drawing was my only thing that was keeping me happy. That was my only go-to. But, things like that happens. Things just kind of fall apart, especially if it's not really planned,
Right.
Just kind of thrown together at the moment.
I had no fear of getting in my car, driving to your town, and be like, okay, I'm here. How do I get to you if I needed to? I had no problems. You're my little brother.
Of course. Of course. I even gave you my address.
So
you know where I live.
Yes, I do. We have to get together. We got to hang out. We really do.
We do for sure. It would be so fun to go out because I will be honest, I am basically a hermit. The only time I ever leave the house is for work or school, and that's basically it. I don't have anyone I hang out with. I don't go out places. I think it would be so much fun.
I think it would be great. I think it would be just a blast. And even if we didn't do much, we just hung out.
Yeah, that would be totally fine as well. I'm down with that. Literally doing as long as I'm next to a person and we're just kind of talking and bonding, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm incredibly easy to please.
And I'm going to tell you right now, Bexy is planning to come out to California next year.
Oh, yay. When?
Don't know yet.
Oh, no.
She's working with her husband, and she has a bunch of time saved up for caretaking for her brother. And she just wants to do a trip out here, just her, to come hang out with you and me. You are on the agenda.
Oh, that would be so wonderful. And also, you want to hear a crazy thing, E? Next year, I'm going to be 21.
Nice. Then we can really do the good karaoke.
Oh, yes, for sure.
All right, so, Oz, how about yourself? We've talked a few times about the stress of this podcast.
Yeah, it has been it's built up a couple of times. I may have had a few cursing episodes over it. The guest is the hardest part. Having people who sound like they're totally bought in, and I am E is amazing, going off the seat of his pants, but I am a planner. So I have these robust Apple notes that I'll share with E, and to kind of give him ideas of what I'm thinking, lists of questions. And when someone's going to be on the show, I like if I have access to their socials, I will go and I will dig so that if they some people, when they're under the pressure of being on the mic, they'll kind of freeze up. So I can ask questions and kind of drive things. And I put in all this work, and then somebody is just like, oh yeah, I really gotta wash my dog, so I can't make it. I'm like, it's not even if you're you know what, I'm not ready to share. Cool. Don't want to make you uncomfortable. Yeah. I have no problem making people uncomfortable as long as it's going to be a growth experience for them and helping Sherpa them through it. But if they're just like, oh yeah, here's my lame ass excuse, even though I said I'm 100% committed, I'm just
At
like,
least be honest. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I just, okay, yeah, well, with on the honesty thing, like, with understanding comes acceptance. Like, if you give me some lame ass excuse, I'm gonna be pissed, right? Because of
Cat,
how invested
Cat
I
just
am in
said.
everything.
Cat just said arrange their sock drawer. Yeah, we kind of get those kind of
Yeah,
excuses.
yeah, like there's some pretty lame shit, and like there's been a couple people where I can clearly tell they may be embarrassed as to the reason they can't do it, and they're coming up with something. If I could read between the lines, I'm like, cool, I get it. It's so uncomfortable, you can't talk about it. But if it's just you're blowing me off after I could have spent the last 2 weeks, talking to other people, like that's rough. And for 10 weeks, another stressor is like 10 weeks at a time, everything becomes full stop on, getting be like, I got here just in the nick of time today. But it's everything is like full stop an hour before the podcast starts. And Sarah with an H and I work opposite schedules. I work swing shift, she works day shift. So your typical work week, we don't get much time together. And so not being able to plan family things, like we've been talking about, really wanting to, we live out in the sticks and we moved out here so that we can go do country out in the sticks things, you know, and not being able to do that, or worrying like, will we be able to get back in time and things like that.
You feel tied to your office, basically. Like
yeah, exactly.
I hate to say it, but it feels like a ball and chain.
At times it definitely did.
Yeah, Steve was sitting there nodding emphatically.
Yeah, and it's specifically, I think it was the worst, at least for us, when we didn't have a guest. Because if we were coming on and we knew we had a guest, we knew we were going to be putting some good out into the world. That mattered. But if it was an episode where we had to go because everybody was expecting us to be on, and we didn't really have much to put out there, sometimes it felt like coming on just to fill dead air because we have an obligation to fill the air.
And I mean, we usually found something.
Absolutely. Like, well, when we get together, something good will come of it. But sometimes it's like my favorite movie ever is Pulp Fiction. And there is a scene where they have a comfortable silence, right? And Vincent goes on to talk about, like, or maybe it's me. They talk about people just talking because they're supposed to be talking to fill the silence, and with so little free time, it doesn't feel like we have time in life to waste on that. You have your whole tribe over there. We have ours over here. The other co-hosts have things going on in their lives. And this has been a labor of love. And when that labor feels wasted, that's rough. Right. It's just, but on the flip side of that, like, each podcast that I've participated in, I know Sarah feels the same. I don't necessarily want to speak for her, but we've talked about it at length. There's such a high after it when it's been good, and we have gotten to be a small cog in the machine of somebody's breakthroughs or finding happiness or the weight being lifted off of them. But at the same time, there is such an emotional drain after the heavy podcasts, like, because we're like, it's almost like a requirement to be a co-host here, that you're really empathetic, right? Yeah. And so you carry the weight of your guest's pain, and it's like, it's hard. Like, I've been choked up a couple of times, like after the podcast, like, I can't believe that person endured that much, especially when it's stories of growth. And then it creates like a little bit of like, I don't want to call it self-doubt, but you're like, you see these people who are making so much progress through their traumas, and I'm like, I am not doing enough at home for myself. You know, I got
Again,
more.
and that's one of those pitfalls that you really can't compare your journey to others. But it's really hard not to because we're a comparative machine.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, like it was said earlier, like if you're going to be logical,
Everybody's still on you too.
Like I said, that's just not how it works, you know.
What about me?
Huh?
Yeah.
Say something about me?
What I did. He just did to me what I did to you with the whole being logical thing. What goes around comes around.
Yeah, that.
No, definitely. Like one thing that I noticed over 3 years and 3 months of this podcast, because that's where we're at.
Wow.
It's crazy to think about that. But the highs that you get on your own personal episodes could carry you for days. The highs that you get, the highs that you get off of somebody else's that you share in, that'll last a day. But when you don't have a guest lined up, the stress grows exponentially with each day as you get closer and closer to the actual broadcast.
Sure.
Like when you have it, like I still remember the calendar. I had 20 people lined up, and I had a wait list.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have to stress. It was end one episode on, like it was a Thursday night, end the episode Friday morning. Reach out to the next person. Hey, you're up next. Are we still good?
Yeah, and the disappointment, like when we don't have a guest, not disappointed because a guest is canceled and all that, but like I've always been big on like I'm one of those people when I was in sports, I like reviewing footage type of thing. So not that I'd necessarily go back and listen to the podcast, but I would kind of go over what we covered and think like I could have brought more. I could have did more. I could have added. There's research I could have did. I could have made it. If somebody's listening to us for 2 hours, I could have gave them a better 2 hours. You know, and I never had that when we had a guest.
Right. And also, like when you had your own episode, I know I'm guilty of it. Episode ends, get off the call. You know, maybe we have a little bit of a powwow after the episode, just like, this was great. You know, had this good episode and all this stuff. Get done with it. Head back to the house and be like, shit, I should have said this thing. I planned on saying this thing. Oh, God, I didn't say this thing either.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the difference is that when you guys have a guest, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about their story, and you're just there to support them and kind of poke them along the way if they get stuck. When you don't have a guest at the last minute or there's not one booked, all of that pressure is on you. So, like, I get that.
Okay, so
Well, there are a couple that like I was there for and got through fine, but like it was downright triggering. Like it would throw me for a loop for about a week after. Like, you know, either I identified with it or it was something that, you know, I know Paul, our next door neighbor, he came on and that was a big one for me. Like hearing those things from when he was a kid, and it would just brought up a whole slew of shit that I hadn't thought about for, you know, years and years that like I kind of thought I was past and I'd worked past, but it's like, oh, here it is again. So that gets difficult sometimes too.
yeah, this podcast was definitely a roller coaster, like for sure.
I know there were a couple of episodes when I was listening regularly, I would have to turn them off. I'd like bounce out in the middle of it because I couldn't do it.
Yeah, they definitely get heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And I want to do a quick little shout out to Kat, the single most consistent listener that we've had in every chat of every episode, and apologetic on the Discord if they missed an episode. You did it, Kat. You did it, Kat. You went 3 years without being a guest.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an episode without Kat.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Okay,
Alice is also tuned in on, like, since you learned about the podcast.
Yeah.
Alice has been in chat. We're in chat with.
He's been a major presence.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah. We had Richard in there a lot. We had Kat's always in there. Alice has been huge since coming. Even like the week before she was a guest, she's been huge in the chat. We had the Porch Drunkies. I admitted it. They are the reason that we got funded. May single-handedly messaged me at the end of season 1, last episode. How do I get longer episodes? Me. Oh, we need to get this many listeners and we'll get sponsorship. She's like, no. How do I get longer episodes starting next season? And I'm like, well, I can't really afford that right now. She's like, okay, well, how much is it? I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this conversation. And she goes, okay, so you're using Spreaker. You're doing 45 minutes. The next one, okay, so I'm going to Venmo you some money now, and you're going to pay for this for a year because I need this.
I remember that. You were so excited. You called me like bouncing out of your skin.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I figured that single-handedly changed the entire paradigm on let's be crowdsourced, let's be listener funded. And now Kat's admitting, getting ready to move to New York and getting closer to being an actual guest. We're doing
well. You're still you could still do the pre-recordings. You can still have her on.
Yes.
And I'm saying it now. I want to be on that one. I want to co-host that one.
All right.
I want to meet Kat.
Hello. Right. Everyone wants to meet the cat.
I have to sometime.
Now, and I will say, I am going to keep paying for the hosting for the website. I'm going to keep paying for the hosting for Spreaker. Discord's not going away. Facebook page is not going away. Just because the live episodes are ending, and we may not even do very many recorded episodes, doesn't mean that this is done. It's a transition.
I can still take over the hosting, so you won't have to pay for it.
Cool. Yeah, and I know that you and Jay both were talking about that, so... I was like...
Yeah, we're kind of nerding out.
Yeah, Sarah's had her servers, like, since I met her, like, 16 years ago, whatever it's been now. Yeah.
How romantic.
And for paying for the hosting and not the hosting, but the Spreaker and all that, like, we'll link up offline, and I'll definitely help you with the costs. We'll just get it paid yearly. Make it easy.
Yeah, that's how it's doing right now. It's those two things are yearly. The only thing that's being paid monthly was the Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Because their yearly fee, it's not too unreasonable, but it's up there. I'm just going to put it that way. And the monthly fee.
I'll take care of the next year.
All right, cool. Also, go ahead. I'll take care of the Spreaker. I mean, it's the web hosting and the Spreaker together. I would say is less than $400 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like it is. It's heartbreaking, and I keep waffling because but the time we just don't have time right now. Like.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we talked about it. Like Sarah and I were talking offline, like
going back and forth.
Yeah, like we can do it. We can make this work. We really want to, and then we're like, but can we? Like,
I mean, I tried warning you, Oz, at the shore of Lake Folsom. I tried warning you that this shit ain't easy.
No, you're right. Well, you were 100% right.
And the Saturdays are particularly hard because we
it feels like we're being
4 days off together a month, or 5 days off together a month, something like that, and like half of them are Saturdays. So
yeah, and it's that, like, through our conversations that we've had, that Sarah and I, like, how do we keep this alive? Because we feel like we're being unfaithful to the cause because of all the good that it brings, but at the same time, like, it goes back to those conversations that I'm sure all of us who are here now have had with people we care about. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. And we can't put ourselves aside if we need to focus on us, and our relationship has taken a lot of work this year. So it's time that we really need together.
my son too, we had this huge list of repairs that we had to make for the house for the mortgage. And so like everything for a year has taken a back seat. M&I time, like a lot of time with my son. And so it was like, just wait till this is over, just wait till this is over. So yeah, it's really hard to commit to literally anything right now other than just kind of putting our family back on track.
And from my perspective too, it's 3 years and 3 months of being tethered to my office and my computer. Because, like, you guys as co-hosts could join in on your phones on the road. I really can't as the host. I have my whole rig and everything set up. I have a professional microphone, headphones, using a desktop. So that way, yes, there is a mobile app for recording, but it does not allow for what we do.
Yeah.
So, and so I really need this summer off. I really do. And I can't say whether I'd be back at the like if you guys took over and took it for the next season, for season 14. I don't know that I would be in a position to come back because in the fall I'm coming up on near the end of my schooling that I'm going through. My kids have a New Year's school coming up. Year older, wife has needs too and things that she's putting off because of the podcast as well. It's not just impacting me, it's impacting her, it's impacting the kids. I don't know. And like you said, it feels like you're betraying the cause. It does. Believe me, it does. I've been considering this for over a year. I was bawling my eyes out when I was chatting the group about this. I was in tears in the parking lot of my kid's school. Wow, this was happening.
Oh.
Yeah, it's where it may feel like it's betraying the cause. You can't betray your own life at the same time. Your family, your significant others, your kids, right?
You can't help others if you're not taking care of yourself, and that sort of is the cause, right? Like,
yeah.
And like I've said before, and I said in the chat, what kind of a host would I be if I'm telling everybody and advocating for take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, and mine is deteriorating right before your very eyes? Yeah. That's not imposter syndrome. That's hypocrite.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
And you know what? I'm going to be honest. This episode ends. I'm probably going to be crying after this. It's
that is all right.
Yeah. But I'm very proud of what I've done. I'm very proud of what I built. I'm very happy about this. The average business in America doesn't even make it a full year. We went 3. And it's not over. And it's not even an actual, even a business, because there's no business license. We never turned a profit. We never turned a penny.
It's true.
Yeah, there was that hope that it would go viral. There was that hope that we would be one of those big podcasts where we get invited to conventions and, have meet and greets with fans and, that would have been great. Make this our living where the money's coming in and we're able to pay ourselves, pay a staff. And that would have been amazing. That's the dream. Reality did not pan out that way, and that's fine. I'm still intensely proud of what I've done. I've never done anything like this before. I've never stood up and said, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to help change the world. And I don't care what happens out of it. I'm doing it.
Well, and literally the world. You have listeners all over the world.
Yep.
You want me to bring up the statistics?
Are you able to see the statistics from the time of inception?
Unfortunately, I'd have to upgrade the account, and I am not paying that much money. We don't make that much money, so that is not happening. Come on, the statistics. So
these are after for those who haven't been a guest. After each podcast, It's been a tradition that he started. Is we will go over the statistics to date, and hearing the reach that MI Mental has been pretty like astounding.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. Like, just looking at it right now, over the last 12 years, our peak month, or not 12 years, 12 months, our peak month was March. We had 310 downloads, 20 live plays. Now, we've had some episodes that hit over 100 listeners alone in previous years. So, our numbers are down. I'm not going to lie. They're down, but they're still good, you know? In the last 12 months, we've been listened to in the United States, Spain, India, United Kingdom, Philippines, Italy, New Zealand, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Sweden, Australia, Germany, Ireland, Turkey, Mexico, Brazil, Peru, Indonesia, Colombia, Hungary, Vietnam, Bosnia, United Arab Emirates, and Russia. And
That is just so cool.
And 24 others. And that's just in the last 12 months.
Yeah, I remember sometime this season you mentioned that what I didn't hear in the list was Israel. We had a single person in Israel. I was like, wow, okay. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah, we had people in Libya. We've had people in South Africa. We've had people in Egypt. You know, we've had people all over the world. We've had people in China. We've had Japan. You know, we've had Iceland. Like, that one blew my mind. I was like, holy crap, we got Iceland.
Yeah.
I was just about to say it's kind of mind blowing how far it's reached.
Yeah, and I mean, right now I could tell you that our number one platform for being listened to is off of Apple Podcast. 52% of our listeners are coming off of Apple Podcast, 20% off of Spreaker, then iHeartRadio, Spotify, Alexa Media Player, Overcast, JioSaavn, VLC, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Internet Explorer, Audible, ATC, our own homepage, amimental.net, Chrome, generic Android app, Amazon.co.uk, generic Android app 2, Angami Android, and other. I mean, we're listening to all sorts of stuff. And the number one thing, our phones. 86% of our listeners listen on their phones.
Well, and the other crazy thing was, so like most of us are in California, but you said that's not even the bulk of the listeners are in California. But Kat also said,
oh, no, California is the bulk of our listeners.
Oh, is it?
50...
I thought you said once it wasn't, or maybe it was that particular month.
Well, yeah, there's been a couple of times, like, I don't know, let's see, Sarah, who had to drop off for a little bit, when she went ahead and binged every episode, Utah suddenly popped up as number one. But
Kat said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
Kat said, how many lives were saved? I know of 3. I'm sure they're grateful for the podcast. Maybe you'll be able to start again, which would be fantastic. Maybe not. If you do have the podcast available for listening, you'll undoubtedly save more. I have no doubts about that.
Thank you, Kat. I really appreciate that. I could say firsthand with people's personal accounts to me, I could say 5 for sure. And I know that Bexy has 1 or 2, maybe 3 personally. And I think it's not too much of a stretch to say if it wasn't for the podcast, not necessarily a specific episode, but the connection that was made, C's still here because of the connections made. Is that a safe thing to say?
That is for sure, because I was in such a dark place in my life that it was kind of scary to be alone by myself or even in my thoughts, because I felt like I would just turn on myself.
Yeah, and I gained family out of that. And that's like, I can't stop smiling every time, too. I fucking love you, C, okay? There.
I know, bro. I love you too. I'm so glad I have such an amazing older brother.
Aw.
I also love your memes, and I hope that you don't mind if I spam you with some of mine.
Okay, just so you know, when Bexy comes out, you come and visit, there's a very strong possibility that for a couple of hours, all 3 of us are going to be sitting on the couch sharing memes by just holding each other's phones around and passing them around. We did that when I visited her in Dallas.
Yeah,
we sat for like 2 hours, just memes back and forth, because It's kind of what we do.
I specifically love spamming people, and I'll be like, sorry. Here's like 35 memes.
I'll find like a treasure trove and be like, all right, I'm dropping the bomb here.
I found out a lot about myself this year through, exposure to the podcast and you guys. And Austin and I were together 15 or 16 or 14 or some number of years ago. And in the interim, since we split and then got back together again, I had become a really big fucking mess. and working through all of that the last year in particular, I was so angry, and I had a lot of anger and I had a lot of bitterness, most of it pointed at myself. And yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys and this podcast opened my eyes to a lot and helped me work through a lot. And I am happier now that I've been in a large number of years.
Aww.
So
that is so amazing to hear. No one else, like the people listening, can't see it, but I am smiling so wide right now.
And that was a rare thing when you first came on. Now you've been smiling like this whole episode.
I know. I've for sure have become definitely a happier person, I would say.
I would say so. And I will be checking the statistics of the podcast probably monthly. I'm going to set a calendar reminder. If it takes off while we're not active, I'm going to be like, yo, let's get the crew together. We got something.
For sure.
Let's get the gang.
Yeah, and I've had a few times, because we had the guest email address out there that I got a couple of hits off of it. And it's like, hey, I'm reaching out on behalf of so-and-so. I'm like, all right, let's check you out. I actually had one that was legit. Like, I said, hey, so what about our podcast, it interests you? Going, you're not hitting me with no form letter. And they turned around and said, hey, you know what? We just heard that you guys made it through your third year. That's really awesome. I'm like, oh, shit, you actually listened. All right, let's talk. Didn't work out, unfortunately. And, who knows? It was one of those people, they're like, they have their business. They're doing their thing. I've had a contact with a number of different podcasts where we were going to do crossovers and stuff. I mean, we did with Orange Lounge Radio. That was awesome. We had, thanks to Vanya, we had one of her friends come on to our podcast. I still haven't got on his yet.
That's actually his now.
Porch Drunkies.
Nah, Porch Drunkies is awesome. What, Vanya?
I said Scott's working that podcast now, and they all still want you on there. So
I just need to
go
know when.
E.
I'll still pop on. I'd love to. But yeah, no, Porch Drunkies, we got that crossover. That was fun, having that. I went and I took their intro. I don't know if any of you actually heard it.
Mm-hmm. I did.
I know you did, but I mean, like, what I did is I took our intro for our podcast, and then I had it do the static, like the radio station was switching over, like we were fading out, and their intro faded in.
Nice.
Yeah, I had fun with that. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, that is so cool.
Alice, I agree. Alice just said, I feel memes as a love language. Is that the saying? Alice and I have been meme bombing. There's been a little pause. I gotta say, there's a little pause there, but Alice has some dank memes. Like, see, you would love that.
Alice is just great, actually.
Alice is pretty great.
Memes have now become the new love language, in addition to all the other ones.
Yeah, I think it's some point, like, way in the future when, I don't know, whatever aliens are running this planet in the year 3000 look back, they're going to think like that's our form of hieroglyphs.
Yeah, I was just going to say, our language went from hieroglyphics to written language and back to hieroglyphics.
They're going to look back on that and think like, what the fuck are these people on?
We had all the drugs.
We were on all of it. All of the things.
Well, they brought mushroom back for
Dude, my son begged me Mom, please, let me be the first one you do mushrooms with. No. I won't even do a shot with you. I'm not freaking doing mushrooms with you.
I smoked pot with my mom once. I smoked pot with my mom once, and she said she'd never do it again because I'm no fun. I get paranoid. She's like, I'm never smoking with you again. You're no fun.
So my ex-wife and I, we were just married. So my ex-wife and I, we went with my parents to a Sammy Hagar concert, and we all smoked out.
Ooh.
That was fun.
Nope, not doing it with my kid. Nope.
I haven't done it with my kids. I haven't done it with my older kids, but they've done it in front of me. I didn't care.
He smokes in front of me all the time. I won't do it with him.
They smoke. I do edibles.
Oh, cannot do edibles. Then the paranoia lasts like 12 hours. No, thank you.
Dude, edibles for me make me feel super paranoid and super frisky, which is like...
That's a weird combo.
It's a weird combo, but it's also one hell of a turn on when things are happening.
And this is why we're friends.
It's weird. Like, let's just leave it at that.
When your desserts come with a safety word.
My safe words don't stop.
Of course, there's that really bad joke. Safe words are for quitters.
They are.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm just going to say it for everybody. It's up to you. Your relationship is yours. There's the disclaimer. You do what you need to do. Done. No, definitely, this has been a great ride. And I can't thank any of you enough.
And the people I've met here, you, Bo, Kat, like some really amazing people that like I will hopefully hang on to for the rest of my life.
And that's why we have the Discord. We could keep these conversations going. We could still stay in contact with each other. I mean, I met Kat through a freaking Shop Titans video game, Android, like iOS mobile game. I was running a guild. I ran a guild for a couple years on that.
Wow.
Yeah, and she just popped on and was just this, like, you know, mostly retired, on the game a lot, ran it well. I mean, crap, there were times that she basically single-handedly carried the guild. I'm no longer in the game anymore, but I'm still on the Discord because, yeah. Oh, and I don't know if I actually exposed the identity I'm going to. There was a guest that was a listener that would pop into the chat every once in a while named Floating Duck. I think C may remember Floating Duck.
I remember Floating Duck.
You remember Floating Duck?
I do remember. Yes, I've seen him a couple times, I think.
And he was one of the funniest commenters. He was Mr. Blonde. He was a season 2 guest, the son that had the brain tumor.
Oh.
Yeah. That's who he was. That was his hidden identity, and he was making fun of me for a long time that I couldn't figure it out. Once I finally figured it out, he won't let it go. His kid's good. I'll just say that. I don't know the full extent. I just know that he said that his kid's good. So that's a good thing, considering it was an inoperable tumor. Yeah, Kat was saying I was working when we started in Shop Titans. Yeah, I thought you were like getting close to retirement, you know. But no, I mean, man, like I never thought that a mobile game I would get so many friends. I'm still in contact with like most of those people from that old guild too. But yeah, Kat was one of the first ones to just jump over to the new. You know, she like once she realized about the podcast, immediately regular listener. Started the Discord, one of the first people to join. Kat has just been in our corner. You know, helped to fund a lot too. You know, Kat's been awesome. I can't wait to sit down and talk to Kat. We're going to do her pre-recorded episode.
And I'm going to be there.
And me. I won't even talk.
just
Poor
wanted to be
woman's gonna have
flammable.
more co-hosts than listeners.
All right, so I'm going to throw out the next episode, the one that's pre-recorded, just so people who are listening now will have a little, like Alice and Kat and everybody else that's here now. Was a friend of my sister's, and through my sister, I met her. Her name is Jewel, and I wanted to bring her on because as of 3 weeks ago today, it was her 9th month of sobriety from fentanyl.
That's amazing.
That was a hard one.
And when we did the episode, Sarah, the one that's been the most common, most frequent guest, I got her to come on and be the co-host because, Sarah was very open about her own addiction recovery process and all that. And I was like, I would really like to have someone there just in case. Because I've never gone through rehab, I don't know how to relate to that. And it turned out that fentanyl was it was a scratch on the surface. This episode, it's a tearjerker. It's powerful. It would have been a great live episode. Absolutely would have been a great live episode. But it just didn't work out. Jules recovering. Jules working part-time because that's all Jewel can work right now. And a classic car show event, a big one in her neck of the woods, happened the weekend that she was supposed to come on, and she got to work it. I'm not taking money away from anybody. That would have taken money away from her to come in the episode. Especially someone that's recovering and only able to do part-time. Every penny counts.
Well, and stability is super important during recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And yeah,
go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm so glad that she's recovering because it is so dangerous. It is so dangerous. I've had my cousin OD to it like twice this year. And as you know, I've lost my sister to a cocktail with fentanyl. So It is absolutely wonderful hearing that she is recovering.
Yeah.
Well, and even from a medical perspective, it is one of the hardest to come off of because it has one of the longest, most complex withdrawals.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to play World of Warcraft, and the guild I was in fell apart because one of the co-founders of the guild OD'd.
Oh, God.
It is so easy to do with.
It is.
He made it through.
Yes.
And I was talking to him. Gave him my, we had a Discord. I PM'd him, phone number, all my contact info. And we were talking daily. And then one day, there was no response. Fatal OD.
Oh, God.
And his girlfriend was the other co-founder of the guild, and that was the end of it. That just killed it.
That's horrible. And that the dosages on fentanyl are so minuscule, and it's so easy to overdose on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and I had to tell Jewel in the episode, when I first offered Jewel to come on, she was really new to the recovery at the beginning, but I sensed a pride that was a red flag for me. She was like, "Oh, I never got that Mexican crap. I always got the Chinese stuff through the dark web." And I'm like, your recovery's not as great as it could be. There's a sense of pride that's usually not a good sign.
Yeah.
So I observed for another 6 months. By the 9-month mark, that was just gone. And it turned out I called it right. She admits it in the episode that, something changed in her in that time frame that I was observing, and now she truly does embrace recovery. It is truly there. She's humbled. She's been humiliated. She's gone through hell. And she's not willing to throw away 9 months. And which is good because soon it'll be 10 months. Then it'll be 11 months. Then it'll be a year. And every day sober is a bigger cost to throw away.
Yeah.
This episode is going to be fantastic.
I can't wait to hear it.
I'll be posting it Saturday evening, normal time. It's just going to be dropped. There's not going to be a live stream. It's just going to be, boom, it's live. There it is. Full episode. Yeah, I wound up crying. This woman went through hell like I have never, ever heard in my life.
Mhm.
When I say the fentanyl is just barely a scratch on the surface, I mean it. I'm talking like Fight Club. The soap is just such a small part of it.
Mm.
It's that level of the fentanyl is just a small part of it. And that's one of the things that makes this really hard. Is those stories. Yeah, as us mentioned and we've talked about as a group tonight, it's rough. Hearing that story, it is rough. It breaks you hearing them talk about how broken they were. But you have to celebrate what they're celebrating, too. You have to be, empathetic to that and sympathetic to that as well. Don't just wallow in the misery of what they've gone through. Celebrate where they are now.
Yeah.
That right there was the thing that kept me going, was that celebrating now. And Sarah's back. Sarah, we were talking about Jules' episode and coming up and how her journey, like the fentanyl was why I brought her on, because we never had a fentanyl recovery story. And the fentanyl wound up being like the soap on Fight Club. A very small part of a much bigger story.
Huge story. Like things I never expected. Huge.
Yeah, like your story was hell. Jules' story is like hell on steroids.
Man, yeah, I don't.
How Jules is where
Yeah,
she is today.
yeah, I sit there and think about it. I'm like, what could I have made it? I'm not sure.
I don't think I could have. No way. And yeah, it explains a lot about who Jewel is today. She's amazing. And you were frozen and you fell off.
Oh.
Ah.
But we almost had her back.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you go to listen to that episode, here she comes again. Bring tissues. You're going to need the tissues. Sarah, I was just telling everybody when they go to listen to the episode next week when I drop it for Jewel, bring tissues. You will need them.
You will. I'm a strong individual. My triggers take a lot usually, and I don't often have to dip out. And I had to shoot you a message, and I was like, dude, I need 10 minutes. I'll be back.
You dipped out a couple of times, and you're not one to dip out I've never seen you do it before. Yeah, Jules' story is...
Well, dude, there was some serious stuff that's legitimately fresh going on in my life that was in that, and I was like, "Oh, too soon."
Exactly. I mean, I guess the best way to sum it up: legitimate lifetime of addiction. Legitimate lifetime of addiction.
Yeah, that is absolutely the best way to sum it up.
Munchausen's via proxy is the devil.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ivania just caught that. Sia is not happy. Yeah, no, this is it's a brutal episode. And it's like, there's a part of me that is very thankful that, like, none of the rest of you were on that recording. Because it was... Oh, God, it was brutal. It was so brutal.
Her teaser is killing me. No, sorry, we can't come soon enough. I want to hear it
now.
Well, I even preloaded that it's going to be aired a week after the final live episode. So there. It's in the recording. It's there. It's committed. It's worth the wait, though. It is.
It was good. It really was.
Like
I had no idea what to expect. So it was like, whoop-bam, whoop-bam, whoop-bam.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you want to co-host an episode? I had no idea what we were getting into. I had no idea.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate that.
What? You were at work.
No, I'm saying that's what she was saying. That's what Sarah was saying. Thanks.
I know her. We'll be good. Like, we got this. And then I was just kind of going,
Yeah, we both went, we have no idea who this person really is. We've known her since like the 90s and had no idea.
I do got to tell you something. Something historical happened for me on that one because I was the one who brought us back to the original conversation, and I'm always the one that takes us way off course.
Yes. Yes, Sarah really did.
I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of that moment. I was so proud of that moment.
It sounds like that episode is going to be a great example of you never know what somebody else is battling.
Exactly. And I mean, Sarah and I have been, I know I've been following Jewel on Facebook. God, since basically when I first signed up on Facebook 13 years ago. And I wouldn't have suspected a thing about what came out of that story. How about you, Sarah? How long have you been following Jewel?
Well, I'm not a forever, but on Facebook itself, about the last 3 or 4 years.
And when you knew Jewel back in the day, did you suspect at all?
No clue. No clue.
And
Zero clue.
And I suspected nothing about you, so if anyone should be able to catch it.
No, it was as people will learn from that, you learn how to hide really well when you start super young.
Addiction breeds secrecy.
Yeah.
Big time.
I've told you before on my episode one of my biggest problems when I first became addicted to pain pills, I tried to talk to my mom because she was my best friend and a nurse, and after my first relapse, like she never looked at me the same, never treated me the same. And you learn really fast that if you want people to look at you like you and not like, a lost cause or something kind of gross, you learn to hide it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Jill, if you're listening right now, even if it's a recording after the fact, from the bottom of my heart, I love you to death. Thank you for being so open and honest and willing to share your story. I love you now more than I ever did. I feel like I know you now. I didn't know you. I thought I knew you. I didn't know you. Now I do, I think. So yeah, thank you for that. And I'll let you know. I'll message you, be like, hey, listen to this episode around, let's see, 1 hour and 20 or 1 hour 38 minutes in.
Yeah, but it does go to show you, no matter how well you think you know somebody, you don't actually know somebody until they decide to tell you who they really are and what their history is. And that's hard for everybody because I don't think any one of us is clean.
No.
We all have stuff.
Well, that's hard for anybody until they actually figure out who they are, which is what a big part of this podcast has brought for a lot of people. Like I know with mine, when I came on, I told my story. I thought I was okay after 20 freaking years after it happened, but I really had to accept that I still wasn't okay. So we don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
have a persona that we want people to see, but if we can't even see who we are, then we can't let anybody else know. Ooh, wow, look at that. Ooh.
We saw it in so many episodes where the viewer. So when we do these shows, like the guest and the host can all see each other in video chat. You can see the facial, like the recognition in some of our guests' faces as they bring things up, because they're a lot of times just sharing stories they've never shared with anybody. So as it comes out of their mouth, they're making breakthroughs, and that look of surprise, like, oh damn, that's something. Is pretty amazing.
And also, like for me, I have it set up where I can see the thumbnails of everybody across the top of my screen. And there'll be times that a guest will say something, and I just see this look on one of the co-hosts' face of just like, oh shit, that's me. You know? And I know I've had that same face multiple times. When someone brings up bipolar 2 and starts talking about it, I'm just like, every time I zone out like, fuck, is that me? You know, every time. It's just a lot of self-discovery in this podcast too. And not just for the guests.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely for the host as well. Yeah, there have been some breakthrough moments. A lot of oh shit moments. Where things feel a little too real. Like,
right.
Like, oh, I've been hiding through that for a while, and I can't hide anymore because I'm all on Front Street here.
Well, like Bonnie, like sometimes you think you work through things and you think you're okay, and then you see another aspect or you think about it in a different way, and here it comes pouring right back again.
Yeah, and my mental's like, hold my beer.
Right?
It totally is.
Bugger.
Really,
It totally is.
it's a lifetime endeavor, whether you want it to be or whether you think it is or any of that. Like,
all right, so I got a question for each of us. What was your favorite episode? If you want me to go first, I will say flat out. I mean, there's not a single episode I didn't like. I'm just going to say that. And I'm not saying that just because I'm the host and I'm supposed to say that. No, seriously, there's not a single episode I didn't like. My favorite was the time that Bexy and I were left to our own devices, and it wound up being an art episode. We were sharing short stories, poetry, music. I created the art channel on our Discord. You know, C started posting his artwork there, and you know, it was awesome. It was way awesome because we got a better understanding. It's like that people who suffer create. It's kind of what the lesson was for that, and that for me was beautiful.
That is so true. In my darkest times, I wrote.
Yeah, I still journal.
I think my favorite one was one of the guests that I brought you, Robert, when he talked about love addiction.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That one hit on so many different levels.
I thought you were going to say that you're the cheer coach for a second there, because I remember having the conversation afterwards. You going, I had known this woman for X number of years, and I learned things I didn't know because of your podcast.
Yeah, Brittany's was a pretty close second, but
Brittany's was a good one. Yeah,
I knew most of
great.
I knew most of Brittany's story. There were some stuff that like I didn't know, but I knew most of it. Booby, I call him Booby. I didn't know any of that about him. He kept that very well hidden.
It was a good episode.
And I called him Booby because he was obsessed with my boobs. So,
well, I mean,
that was before the reduction. He was obsessed with them.
Well, I mean, there was that one time we did a video chat and your mom called and you sat back in your chair and you had me on mute and I said, wow, you really do have large ... eyes, and you almost choked while talking to your mom.
They are extraordinary. I mean,
oh, God, we were in our 20s then. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long minute ago.
Yeah.
Mine were extraordinary when I was in my 20s.
Mine
Mine
weren't.
have never been extraordinary. Anybody who wants to share, I'll take it.
Mine are too, but I'm working on that.
Mine are reducing. I'm back down to training bra size.
They cut 10 pounds off of me, off of this
my
area.
gosh.
Think about that in like hamburger meat, 10 pounds of it. And then when I got out of surgery and I did my post-op, the doctor was like, "Oh, they're perfect." And I'm like, "They are." They're like, "Where they're supposed to be."
I can't even tell you how many conversations that we've had since, including just this last week where someone will be looking at her and she's like, "Look, my tits are down here." It's like, I paid a lot of money for these things.
I'm wearing a V-neck for a reason. Okay.
All right, who wants to go next? Favorite episode?
I think my favorite. Oh, go ahead, baby.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I got a really horrible memory, but the one that
So
immediately
do I.
came to mind was my next door neighbor Paul.
That was
And I like this story because he had a lot of trauma growing up, and as he learned to deal with it, he also harnessed it, and it helped him want to create something to help others who went through the foster system, and to help give him, and he's still working on it, to create something to help them so they can start life on the right foot. I'm a huge silver lining guy, right? I'm always trying to find the silver lining. So everything that he endured gave him the ability to, one, really be able to functionally and effectively do outreach, and then understand the needs of the people who've gone through what he's gone through, and to really help them in meaningful, lasting ways.
And if I remember, that episode started out with just you and him because I was dealing with a migraine, but then I was able to join in partway through. And
Yeah.
just the part I heard, I was blown away.
Yeah, Paul's an awesome dude.
Now, before we go on to the next one, we got a comment here. Alice, her favorite episode was the myths one, the debunking dangerous mental health myths.
That was Bexy's, right?
Yeah, Bexy, we were like, we had no guest, we had no topic. We're like, shit, what are we going to do? And then she's like, why don't we bust myths? We were pulling up pages while the disclaimer was going. It was that last minute. It wound up being a good episode. Oh, and Sarah with an H, Alice said that she'll gladly give up some.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sarah, no H. You had a favorite episode.
Yeah, I think it was my first one. And actually, I think I was the guest on that one. Same kind of situation. There was no guest. But the reason it was my favorite is because I ended up in this long conversation with Bo about parenting and schools and, having a child on the spectrum. And there was so much of that conversation that just hit home to me and, made me feel like, even though I feel like a giant failure, I'm really not when it comes to parenting. And that was a big one for me, I think.
I'm just going to say, if you're still trying to be a good parent, you can never fail. I'm just saying that now. You may have varying levels of success, but you haven't failed.
Yeah. I'm very, we'll say I'm dedicated but bumbling. We'll put it that way. That's how I feel about it.
There's no guide on how to raise a kid, and everybody that's ever tried to write a book has only made things worse.
And the one up on it is actually putting in effort, when there are a lot of parents who don't even do that much. They just assume they're doing a great job, but they do it on autopilot. There's a big difference in concerted effort and passive action.
Exactly.
If you're giving everything you have to give, then you're giving it all you've got. I mean, parenting is hard. And it's like, I had one kid who was I knew from the time he was 5, but he was bisexual. He was struggling with that all through his life. I had another child that was anorexic, and she struggled with that. And it's very easy to fall into, oh God, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong, because you love your kids and you're giving them everything you've got. If you don't have anything more than that, you've given it to them. So, like, the house is going to be messy. They're going to act out. They're going to do this, that, and the other thing. But what I will tell you is that becoming a grandparent is freaking amazing, because you've already had your trial. So by the time the grandkids roll around, you got it all figured out. My kids are so mad at me.
You know, the best part is about being a grandparent is, oh, they stink, or, oh, they're getting cranky. Here you go. Here's your kid back.
Play with them, sugar them up, send them home.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just to say, here's a nice big dose of sugar, and then bye.
Yep.
Just because you can.
Ooh, Alice just dropped a bomb in the chat. So many parents miss out on their kids' childhood and can't remember it because you're just survival mode. Yeah.
That's
accurate. All right, so now we're going to go on to C. And Sarah with an H. Either of you have a favorite episode?
I do not. No, I can't remember, to be honest. I remember vague parts of some of them, but I have no favorites.
I was going to say, you were in also a really dark place through most of it. I fully understand why you may not remember a lot of it, because you were going through some shit. And the brain just has a way of going, yeah. And the mind has a way of saying, you know what? We don't need this right now.
Mm-hmm. Just don't focus on this.
I've been noticing a lot of new flags and stuff in your room.
Dropper capacity.
Anyway, what I say to see is I've noticed that there's a lot of new decorations in your room, and I really like it.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I want to get some fairy lights for my birthday, so I have them hanging around my room.
Hint, hint.
August, right?
No. September.
I knew it was around that time.
Me too.
All right.
Oh, really?
Sarah,
I'm the 8th.
Me? I have 2. Actually, one you and I talked about, I think 2 or 3 nights ago, E. I don't, D's, where we have our mutual friend from high school that I really didn't know anything about his super crazy childhood.
The one that went, I am going to school, when everybody else is like, I want out of school.
Won a car for $1, 12 years old. Yeah. That one, simply because I've known him so long and forever and ever and ever, and he's been my big brother since I was in 8th grade. I just didn't know how much I didn't know. And then my other one, I'm horrible. Like, I am having the worst time coming up with the right word. So bear with me. I think it was about 2 years ago. I don't know who it was. It was an episode where there was someone talking about like sociopathic tendencies and a lack of empathy.
Oh, yeah! That was season 1.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Has stuck with me, like, because I was like, oh, how do you work through this? How do you not become a serial killer? How do you know what I mean? And that episode sucked me in so hard.
You know that he has told me that he hates talking to people on the phone and in person in general, just because of who he is. I'm the only person he could talk to for an extended period of time.
Wow.
That's saying something, man.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, it makes me go, is it because I'm such an opposite, or do I share traits that I'm not aware of? And I mean, that's a legitimate concern.
Not with you. No, not really.
All right, I'm going to go to the person that has known me the longest, Ivania.
Yes, dear.
What do you think?
I think But no, I don't think you're a sociopath.
No, I'm not a sociopath. I'm just wondering, do I have any of those tendencies?
Sociopathic tendencies, lack of empathy.
We've had
No,
fights because of that.
we've had fights because you're an asshole and an idiot, not because you lack empathy.
That's fair.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's fair.
We've had fights that seem to lack empathy, but more you're just more fixated on something else. I don't think that's lacking empathy. Like that last big fight, you knew immediately, and you were immediately apologetic and whatever. That's not lacking empathy. It's lacking something, but I wouldn't call it empathy.
Brains. Awareness.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
So Kat said some of my favorites were C's first 3 hours, Cheerleader, The Mom with the 3-Year-Old Abused, Skin Babies, and others, but my memory sucks.
Skin
One of those
babies. Yeah, one was
What
yours,
was this
Ivania.
Skin Baby?
One of those was mine.
Skin baby.
All right, so Sarah, anybody here not aware of Skin Babies?
Me.
Okay, so we had Mark come on. Mark, trans female to male. I think that was basically that was the topic of the discussion. And what wound up coming up is that they're still really good friends with their now ex-husband because they had gotten pregnant twice and had miscarriages. And one of their concerns was not being able to have a biological child now that they're going through HRT, surgeries, that whole thing. And I remembered reading an article back when I still lived in San Diego, so this was between 2000 and 2006, that they were able to take skin cells and make viable sperm cells out of them.
Wow.
And I pulled up the article about it, and there was talking about with rats, and they are starting to move on to human trials. And Mark got so excited that they shouted out, "You mean I could have skin babies?" And that's where the skin babies thing came from. And then we started talking about how HEPA filters are the number one hazard for skin babies. At the time we had the pandemic, some people are wearing masks to keep skin babies out of their lungs and stuff. Like it became this whole crazy thing.
Oh my god, I can't imagine how unbelievably expensive that would be, though.
Again, it's cutting edge technology. Yeah, it's years now down the road from when that first started, but they're still developing it. And I think that's just freaking amazing that they can do that. But
That's pretty cool. I knew what shower babies were, but I didn't know what skin babies.
But yeah, so that was pretty awesome to be able to, even talk about that. Another favorite of mine, and I mentioned it in the Discord too, because one of my friends asked, "What was your favorite episode?" I was like, "Oh shit, I never even thought of that." Season 1, bonus episode at the end of the season, because episode 10, I kept talking about, Rachel Conway and her psychology practice that she had down to San Diego. I was promoting her. She was promoting us to, patients that could benefit from it. And then, of course, I was like, a special guest coming up, end of the season, special guest coming up, end of the season. How people didn't realize that she was going to be the special guest was beyond me, but I caught a lot of people off guard with that. Her episode was fantastic because we really talked about what got her into psychology, talked about her preferred methods of, therapy and treatment and all that, and why she got into it. And then we did that bonus episode where she gave me a session on air.
I remember that.
I remember that.
And yeah, that was earth-shattering for me, and instantly became a favorite. How could it not?
Right.
That was awesome. Like I still to this day think about it often. I wish she could be my therapist, but she can't. she's one of my best friend's wives, and we know each other
It
too
doesn't
well
work that way.
personally. Yeah, can't do that.
No.
But I did. I am going to when we get to the end. I've talked about it so many times. The catalyst to this entire journey. I was having the bad day at work one day. It's a rainy day, working from home for a fruit company that Us and I have worked for, and Sarah as well. I was having a very, very bad day, and I wrote an essay. A blank page. I had no intentions of ever sharing that with anybody. And yes, Kat, that session did make me cry. I didn't plan on sharing that that essay with anybody. And then I shared it with my Twitter friends. This is back when I barely really knew Bexy and a few others that were in that group. And I was like, I'm going to share this, and if it goes poorly, I could just leave the group and never talk to them again. No big deal. Their reaction was so overwhelming and so strong. Like, every single one of them said that had I not admitted the stuff I admitted in that essay, they would never have admitted their own. And that really made me start thinking, yeah, this is something that needs to be talked about. It was the first time in my life I didn't feel alone. I plan on ending this podcast with that, just so everybody knows. It'll be the last
Full
thing.
circle.
It'll be the last thing before I do the outro. Also, Kai, if you remember, another thing that made me cry was that one poem that Bexy wrote to the men out there. That she sees us. I full-blown sobbed on the air over that.
She's an amazing writer. She really is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she has 3 books self-published now.
I found that out the other day. I'd been reading some of her online stuff. She has like a short story posting account, but yeah, I didn't know about the books.
I'll get her to drop the links in the Discord.
That'd be awesome.
And Ivania, your guy's self-published a book and is wrapping up a second one, if I'm not mistaken.
The second one is done.
It is done.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and drop those in the. Can you drop those in the Discord?
Sure.
I mean, they are self-help in nature. Am I not mistaken?
They are. One of them is talking about his attempt, and the other one is recovering, I believe.
Good. I can't thank, I was gonna say, I can't thank you guys enough for being part of this journey. All of you. You've all helped make this, like, I couldn't have done it without any, like, all of you have all been such a big part of this. Ivania, you brought the best guests, hands down. You always bring perspective for me when I need it, and levity when I need it. You are quite literally the biggest boot on my ass.
I love you.
I love you too. I love all of you. You've all been huge. Sarah, it's been great getting to know you thanks to us. Like, you're all family. All of you are family. And I'm looking across the Zoom meeting right now. All of you are family.
Well, you're
Oh, there
welcome
he is.
for a patch of mud
I was
anytime.
going to say even that ceiling right there, but then he popped up.
Yeah. The C-ling. Da-da-da-da-da-da. There was the palm. Talk to the hand. No.
I'm making dinner. I've only eaten a donut all day. I'm hungry.
Oof. Yeah, I can see that.
I am so happy to see someone his age actually cooking.
Right?
You know that my oldest, he actually likes to cook.
Did I tell you what I'm doing for my daughter?
You did tell me. Did you want to share it?
Oh no, I was just wondering if I told you, but that just it reminded me when
Yeah.
C was cooking. I'm so glad to see somebody that age cooking.
Yeah, no, I feel like a failure in that regard because I can cook well. I just hate cooking. However,
Kind of stoked my senior loves to cook.
give me a bag of charcoal and a grill, and I will grill anything. I've grilled a pizza before. I will grill anything.
That can be done.
That come out.
Yep.
I'll tell you guys, my daughter is getting married in August. And she called me about probably 2 weeks ago now and asked me for my mom's chicken and dumplings recipe. And I was like, there's no recipe, kid. We just do it. You know? So she made me actually make it and write everything down as I went. And I got to thinking, I grew up cooking in the kitchen with my mom and my grandmother. She didn't. Most of the girls her age didn't. So I decided to write down all those recipes, and I'm going to have them bound and give it this. I guess technically I am writing a book. I'm going to have it bound into a cookbook and give it to her on her wedding day. But then I decided to take it one step further and contact all of the influential women in her life and have them add one as well. So like I've got grandparents, I've got aunts, I've got her cheer coach who was actually a guest here. Her best friend's moms. We were a military family, so my military wife tribes that helped me raise my kids and vice versa. Everybody's contributing a recipe, and it's going to be handwritten so that she'll have that memento for the rest of her life.
Awesome. It brings back memories of my mom trying to learn to cook from her. I don't know if your family did this. Ask mom for a recipe, and she'll say 2 spoons of this, 3 spoons of that. But it's a cooking spoon, like a mixing spoon. There's no actual measurement. I'm trying to explain that every spoon holds something different. And my brother and I both stole spoons from her at one point when we moved out so we could make her recipes because nobody knew the measurements except for in mom's spoon language.
So mine is, I don't know, until it tastes right or when it smells right or when it looks right. And they're like, how is it supposed to look? And I'm like, oh, you just do it. So I've
you take a taste and I said, right? You just take a taste and what's missing you add, but you don't know how to explain it to somebody else.
Exactly. Like I'm Filipino and they're like, give me the lumpia recipe. I'm like, I can't.
When it's right.
Yeah, but my mom's Filipino, so
yeah, I'm like, I can give you the ingredients. Can't give you.
Well, it's like when
That's been super difficult with my son because he's on the spectrum, and that is how I cook. Well, and I like even when he's reading a recipe, I'm like, you don't really want to do it that way. You want to do it this way, and he's like, but it says. And I'm like, I know what it says, but.
Well, that's also the difference between cooking and baking. Because with baking, if you're off a little bit, sometimes it completely fucks it up.
Baking is science.
Yeah, baking is science.
It's kind of.
I haven't been able to bake a store-bought cake since I moved to Colorado. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're an organic chemist. You know, when you're baking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like
baking is science, cooking is art.
When I do cook, what I wind up doing is I'll grab the seasonings and I start smelling what smells right together. Once I get everything in the right ratios and it all smells right, that's when I go ahead and like season and do my thing. I won't do it without making sure it all smells right. And my wife, it drives my wife nuts when I do that. She's like, but how do you know what goes together? It's like, well, taste and smell are so interlinked. If it smells good together, it's probably going to taste good together. Of course, in her argument...
That is how Dad taught me to cook.
I was going to say, her argument, though, has always been...
He literally was like, take stuff.
Yep, Sarah's bouncing. But her argument's always been, really? Explain coffee. It smells great. And I'm like, and it tastes great too once you fall in love with it.
I can think of other things about that too, actually.
Coffee's a lot like chocolate. Like you put a bunch of sugar and cream with it, and they actually taste very much alike.
I can talk about coffee all day long. I'm a huge coffee snob, and it's the reason that the taste and the smell often don't match is because people are burning the shit out of it, not realizing.
Yep.
Starbucks.
Yep. Starbucks does it intentionally.
Yeah.
Their coffee tastes like dirt to me.
It tastes like feet. It's nasty.
I had a friend who was a barista and went through their barista school, and they said that in their barista class, they say, we know our coffee tastes like dirt. The term we use is earthy. Never tell a customer dirt.
Well, and from my understanding, they burn their beans on purpose so that you end up purchasing these sweet drinks that cost more.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because it hides the flavor of the coffee.
Thank you, corporate America.
Yeah. Now,
I actually really want to try some of that monkey poop coffee.
Oh my
Right?
God.
It's
I want to
actually
try that so bad.
I think civets are cats, but yeah, it would be. I'm the same, like, because it's supposed to be super smooth, like not bitter at all.
Yeah.
And it's like you know where it comes from, but God, I almost have to try.
I mean, I'm not going to spend $75 on 16 ounces of coffee beans, but if it was offered to me,
right.
I'm not going to say no.
I will take Jamaican Blue Mountain over animal poop coffee every time.
Come on, dude. Your veggies are grown in animal poop.
Seriously.
Stop with the logic already.
Yeah, I thought I said that
Jamaican Blue
first
Mountain?
thing.
Jamaican Blue Mountain, it's a specific bean that initially it has to be grown at elevations of 10,000 feet or higher for it to be Jamaican Blue Mountain, although they've recently dropped it down to 7,500 feet. It is very expensive.
Isn't Jamaica at sea level?
Well, it's called Jamaican Blue Mountain. It's just a name. But
You got a brand? Because now I'm looking it up and I'm going to get some.
Like, when I was still married and down in San Diego, we were getting, like, my wife was buying specialty coffee, paying about, like, a quarter pound is like $12, $15. Jamaican Blue Mountain was like $50.
Sorry, baby, I'm getting expensive coffee.
It was very smooth. It was very smooth. And there is a coffee company I do buy my coffee through now. We're not paid. We're not being sponsored by them, but it is Coffee Brand Coffee. It is the most generic named company ever because they want to completely avoid all politics. So they're Coffee Brand Coffee. They roast the beans to order. So when you place your order, they grab the ticket, they roast your beans, put them in a bag, and ship them off within hours of roasting.
Who was that? What company?
Coffee Brand Coffee.
Okay.
Maybe you're not allowed to buy coffee on your own, and you're never allowed to buy socks again.
I don't know that Coffee Brand Coffee has Jamaican Blue Mountain, but they are legit amazing coffee.
It sounds like the no ad.
does that.
Do you see the tyranny in my house? No socks, no coffee. It's torture over here.
No coffee.
You have to
My
choose socks
first
or
world
coffee.
problems.
Strain your coffee through your socks.
It gives it an earthy flavor.
When I knew him before,
Tastes like feet.
when I knew
You
him
gotta be
before,
3-day-old socks, though.
he did not doing laundry, so he would buy new socks every time he would run out of clean socks, and he's done that for 10 years. So
It sounds like I'm being lazy, but that's not it. When you put on a new pair of socks, it feels like your feet are getting little hugs.
I mean, that is true.
That's legit. That is legit. 100%. That's legit.
Fair.
But I can just hear it now. I can hear Sarah go, "Oz, honey, how come your laundry basket smells like a bag of tortilla chips?"
What the hell? That's all.
Frito flip.
Well, what I used to do, I haven't done it in a long time. So when I went through a big phase where every time we would go to Costco, I'd get a couple packs of socks. I'd only wear them like once, and I'd wash my socks and I'd pair them up, and then like one of the most asked for things uh, by uh, by homeless people are socks and underwear.
Socks.
So I would, when I would have to go through downtown Sac-A-Lot, I would give socks out. They'd be washed, to homeless people, and they were always super stoked. The problem started when I stopped going into downtown Sac all the time, and we did laundry once, and I counted literally, I think it was 107 pairs of socks.
Jesus.
Oh my God, that's Scott.
We have huge laundry baskets upstairs full of his socks.
I will
And
tell
I can
Scott,
never find matching pairs.
I did a load of socks for you, like a full freaking load.
Yeah, no,
God.
that's what it.
It's going to be hand puppet central.
Right?
Yes.
And my first thought when Sarah's saying no socks and no coffee is like, how do you expect him to ever get out of bed in the mornings when it's cold out?
Right?
I didn't say couldn't have coffee. I just said he's not allowed to buy without running by me first, Mr. $100 an ounce.
That would be the civet coffee
Well,
right there.
I ran it by you. I mean, I didn't ask. I just ran it by you. And there's a recording of it. There's proof this time.
She's sitting there watching you do it. So.
Better hope they don't sell socks on this website.
Saki brand Sakis.
Alone coffee brand coffee.
Covers.
You better hope they don't sell socks on this website. We have a couch in our room.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I mean, it's not really a threat. We both have bad backs.
That's
And
true.
we're like-
we
we're-
alternate on
We're
the
like,
couch.
at least once a week, we're apologizing to each other. Be like, baby, I have to sleep on the couch this tonight because of my back. We like put ourselves on timeout,
We have two of those. Maybe we should just push them together and make that our bed.
right?
The shit we talk about on this podcast sometimes, I swear. No, we are actually running out of time. We're down with less than an hour left. We have 43 minutes left.
Wow.
We've filled up over 2 hours now.
Wow.
And we're also in the chat. We're talking about crock pots, and Kat feels represented and attacked by the socks remarks. Kat just said, in sorting and packing the house, Helen from the company we hired for assistance with sorting and packing said, do not buy any more socks. Ever. You don't need any. And Alice was asking if the adjustable bed helps y'all.
Yeah, she gave us a bed, and it's adjustable, like super expensive, really nice. And I was actually just responding. It helps if it's lower back, but right now my upper back is completely shot, like all the way across my shoulder blades, and that's not where the bed elevates. So
Get yourself one of these.
I have one.
That one.
I gotta find it, but so that hasn't really helped my back. Yeah. I'm just stopping there. Damn it.
Yeah, check my bedside first.
Oh God, I'm dying over here.
You might need to clean it up.
I need an adult.
Well, I mean, these are adult subjects that we're talking about here.
Oh my God.
Sure, it's a massager.
Yeah.
Hers has the LED. Is that so you can find it in the dark?
Yeah.
I might have that same one, actually. That looks exactly like the one I have.
Yeah, this is my favorite tip, actually. There's one.
Oh man, the territory this is headed towards.
I didn't even mean that naughty, okay?
I'm glad
But
I have
it's just the
explicit
tip.
content.
The sports massagers beat your.
Well, you
beat
know
your
what they
pain
say
into
about just the
submission.
tip. It was just the tip of the iceberg that brought the Titanic down.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Kat threw in there, we keep finding brand new packages of the specific socks I love. And Alice asked you, what if you put the feet up? They said also that she has to put her head up and feet up so she's bent into a U shape. I just don't see how that would be comfortable for sleeping as I lay on my side in the fetal position.
Yeah, I got a gut. That don't work. If I went into a U shape, like I wouldn't be able to breathe.
I'm down 22 pounds since January.
Nice
No.
job.
Congratulations.
Nice. You can have them back. I think I gained them. Thanks for sharing.
I meant to send them for Sarah to donate.
I lost like 45 after my surgery. Does that count?
Wow.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, the reasoning for it is you didn't get a surgery for your diet. No.
Well, I mean, they didn't let me eat anything but ice chips for a week, so that took a whole lot off. It gave me a great head start.
Yeah.
I lost like 75 this year just not eating dairy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I had to stop. It makes my joint hurts now, but like I've lost like 75 pounds this year just not eating dairy anymore.
Well, I found after I ended up in emergency surgery last July.
Oh, wow.
But I figured out that it's yeast that's giving me stomach issues.
Oh.
So I cut out everything with yeast in it. So that
How's that been going?
Well, I mean, it's helping me to continue losing weight because, yeast is in damn near everything.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and the apple cider vinegar shots help with maintaining that. And I tried that just in case that was a thing, because yeast in your gut can actually make you lose your hair. I don't know how that works, but the way that it's all connected, the yeast in your body. And I tried a apple cider vinegar shot, and that I tried that once.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
No.
No.
Going back to socks, it tastes like I was shooting gym socks. Like
They do have powdered apple cider vinegar in pills, unless you're looking for the apple cider vinegar with quote unquote the mother.
Yeah, it's the mother.
Vanya, how did sourdough bread go? I know I was supposed to send you some, but just never got around to
You
it.
were supposed to send me some, and you were supposed to send me a starter too.
You jerk.
I need to find one of those.
Yeah, sourdough, it says it has no yeast in it, but it started with like wild yeast in the air, so it's still replicating yeast.
Right. Yeah, I actually was able to get a starter going. I made some sourdough. It turned out really good. It was heavier than I would have liked. But I'm working on it. Sourdough's a process.
Like friendship bread, but harder.
Yeah.
Friendship bread is so good.
Oh my God.
The problem is with friendship bread is that you finally get so sick of having so much goddamn friendship bread that you just throw it all away. And then like a year later, you're like, damn it, I need a starter.
Yeah. My next project I think I'm going to try to do is Irish soda bread. Ooh.
All right, so
There's a lot of good quick bread recipes like that.
All right, so here's a cool little thing I learned. I haven't tried it yet. I plan on doing it soon. Bexy told me about it. She's done it. She says it's amazing. Go to the store. Buy just a box of plain-ass white cake. Put it in a bowl. Pour in one soda, not a diet soda, a regular soda. Toss it in the pan, toss it in the oven, bake it according to the instructions, and it comes out perfect. It's flavored as the soda.
Yeah, it's like 7-Up cake.
Yeah.
That's a hella Filipino thing right there.
I have never heard of it until this
you
year.
throw some pineapples in the bottom, pineapples
Yep.
and Montessori cherries or whatever in the middle of it.
Mendocino?
Like
Mendocino
pineapple
cherries. And you do the 7-Up and the.
I just learned this.
You got
Notice me and Oz are like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. Yeah, well, you two are okay. So it's a Filipino thing. You're both Filipino. Got it. My white ass, on the other hand.
No, my mom does it too, but you got to put brown sugar in with the pineapple and the sugar and the cherries.
Probably just
What's that?
balance out the tartness.
Yeah, I don't know. It caramelizes, and then you end up with like this gooey stuff on top with the pineapple and the cherries. Really good.
And then I go get my A1C done after that. My doctor's just going to bring in a shotgun and kill me on the spot. Be like, I'm just going to speed up this process.
Yeah, that
Oh, that's
so
funny.
that actually my doctor, when we were going over, I wasn't super consistent with my Trulicity shots. I take a once a week diabetes shot, and or actually before that, she was telling me I wasn't taking metformin the way I was supposed to for diabetes
I hate
because it
that shit.
destroyed my stomach. And my doctor is like, I don't know how to get it through to you that of your medications, you need to be consistent with this one. If you don't, it is slow motion suicide. Stop. You know, and I was like, I can't. I haven't like not to be like TMI, but I ain't shit solid in 6 months. Like I can't keep taking this. Like I every time I sneeze, it's like
Oh,
I gotta contemplate life. Like, is this a real sneeze? Like, no, I can't do it. And they put me on the shot, and I've been good.
yeah. My experience with metformin, I was on 1 gram twice a day. 1,000 milligrams. 1 gram twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. All I felt for the year I was on it was a massively sour stomach. I couldn't eat. And I farted every 30 to 45 seconds uncontrollably. I could not stop. And they were the stinkiest farts in my entire life. To the point where I toxified a chair that 2 years later someone sat in it and the people in that office looked around wondering where I was because of the smell.
That's
Oh my
that's
God.
foul.
Yeah.
That's a
Metformin may be great for others. For me, fuck that. No.
Yeah,
Hell no. Never again.
I cannot do it. I was watching something on YouTube, and a recent study had showed that rich people were taking metformin to prolong their lives. After studies showed that it increase. It was research extensively in diabetics that it increased life expectancy by like 30%. So they were looking at diabetic deaths with it versus not, and diabetics who were on metformin had a 30% increase in life expectancy. So
Damn.
rich people started taking it for funsies to live forever, I guess. But they can afford the portable toilets, so
I
they
do
traded
know.
in their Benz for an RV so they can shit wherever they want.
I do know that my father-in-law was on metformin, and he wound up being diagnosed with prostate cancer. Prostate cancer typically is a very slow cancer. It's not a highly aggressive cancer, but it's still cancer. Metformin slowed it down so much that they were able to determine that he had it for a while, but it had barely grown because of the metformin. So they were able to get rid of it without it ever metastasizing in other parts of his body. Had he not been on metformin, he probably would have died sooner because of the cancer. Now, he did not die of cancer. He died of heart problems.
Speaking of,
This
how
is
is the wife
surprising because
doing?
I've heard. Go ahead, Vanya. What'd you say?
Oh, I was asking him how his wife is doing because that was a fairly recent event.
Yeah, she's doing. We're coming up on the 1 year mark. We're coming up on the first Father's Day. She's doing better than I expected her to do, but it hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
One of the most heartbreaking moments of my entire life was her sitting in her car, getting ready to go hang out with her brother and her sister. Didn't want to be around the kids because she was too much of a mess after her dad died. And it hit her that she was an orphan. That I saw her heart rip out of her chest right there and get smashed on the ground. But yeah, no, overall, she's doing fairly okay. She's really come a long way. I mean, she lost her mom just over a year before. I mean, she lost both of her parents inside of 2 years.
Oh, man.
So she already had a lot of the tools for grieving because of her mom. So when her dad passed, she already kind of had a head start on the grieving process. She's still bitter. She's still mad about a lot of things. Some of it rightfully so. Some of it's just the grief speaking. But, you know, I'm just trying to be there for her. And when she has her really bad days, you know, it's one of those, hey, whatever you need to do, go do it. If you need to go to the cemetery to go visit them, go. If you need to go to the casino because that's what her mom did all the time, go. If you need to go hang out with your brother and watch some old westerns with him, go. Whatever it is you need to do it.
Yeah, that first year is super, super hard. And if she had them back to back, she hasn't had time to heal yet.
No.
Yeah, send her my love.
I will. You can always call her too if you want.
I don't think I have her number anymore.
I'll get it to you. No, it's and then Alice just said that, you know, my dad died in 2020, my mom last year. It's not the easiest. My mom in 2011, my dad in 2021. I'm fortunate in that I haven't lost a parent yet. I mean, I've talked to a great extent about my mom's traumatic brain injury and almost losing her. I have watched my grandparents. I've watched my uncle, who was a second father to me. I don't know what it's like to lose a parent. I recognize that I am blessed in that regard. And I know it's just a matter of time. And yeah, I will be reaching out when it happens. Because I know I am going to be a fucking wreck. My parents and I are close. I have cybersecurity class. I'm going to be on the road. My wife's going to drive, and I'm going to be on my phone on a Zoom meeting with my class because I'm going up to go visit my mom. And if we get to visit my mom before the class is over, oh well, I'll catch up on the video. I'm spending Mother's Day with my mom. But yeah. Like I said, I can't imagine what it would be like to lose a parent, and I don't want to. Obviously, I don't want to.
It's a good reminder to everybody. Don't forget. Tomorrow, Mother's Day.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like C is up. Yeah. Zoom loves to kill batteries and overheat phones and lag the shit out of things. I just got a message from C. Phone's getting hot and I'm lagging. I'm going to go. All right, C, thank you again for everything. You were probably the biggest surprise addition out of everybody in this whole thing. I didn't expect us to get as close as we did. I'm glad that we have, and I look forward to the future with us. I really do. I want to be involved in your life for as long as I'm alive. Like I said, you're my little brother.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to tag along for the journey, honestly. It was really amazing. And hopefully, if I'm not feeling drained from work, I can join you guys sometime.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be doing this, but yeah.
Yes, but, still.
Yeah, and I
You
mean,
guys take care and have a good... Oh, sorry.
I was
Go on.
There's nothing saying that we can't get together and just hang out on a Zoom call or whatever, until we actually get together.
Exactly. Also, we still haven't watched Prehistoric Planet together.
We need to fix that. You know what? We'll make that a summertime goal.
Okay.
When you're out of school,
sounds like a plan.
All right.
Sounds like a plan. You guys take care and have a good rest of your guys' night, all right?
All right, and Kat said love you, C.
Bye, C.
Bye, C.
Thank you, Kat. I love you too. You take care as well. Bye-bye.
Honestly, probably a good stopping point.
Yeah, I think so.
So, if you haven't heard this before, get your tissues ready. The catalyst that started this whole journey, a blank page. A blank page. The oddly salty taste of an eraser and the subtle resistance of the metal holding it to the pencil bending between teeth. The smell of freshly scraped wood and graphite, and the jabbing pain of tapping a fingertip on the sharpened point. The page measures 8.5 inches across by 11 inches long, but it feels like the size of the Great Salt Flats in Utah. Blindingly bright, plain white, unmarred, yet it's just a blank page. They say the best way to start writing is to just simply start writing. About what? I don't know. Isn't that the problem? Where do you start? The feeling of breathing around the pencil, a slight pressure in the chest, and a slightly accelerated heartbeat. Ah, my old friend, anxiety. I should be writing. A blank page. An insurmountable amount of surface to etch and mar with cryptic markings by moving the pencil's sharp tip. Is it still sharp? I better check. Slight pain on the fingertip. Yep, still sharp. Do I guide it slowly and deliberately like choreography, a dancing leaving behind beautiful markings? Or do I move it rapidly to simply get words out quickly like a swordsman battling for his life, leaving behind barely legible slashes and scrapes of graphite across the surface of the paper? A blank page. This is impossible, whispers the mind. It'll never get done, like all other things you say you're going to do. How's that garage can looking? The litter box. When was the last time you showered? What about your garbage can? When was the last time you said you'd do it? Well, you worthless liar, answer. Welcome back, my old friend's depression and low self-esteem. A blank page. Increasing pressure on the chest. And now the lower abdomen wants to play too, cramping ever so slightly. Is that numbness in the left arm normal? Is the tightness in the chest really just anxiety? No. Best not to think about that. That will not be named or why I should consider that. A crunching sound between my teeth, and now the oddly salty taste of eraser has wandered into parts of my mouth where it shouldn't. I pull out the pencil from between my teeth and see that the band of metal that is normally a cylinder is now pinched at the end with only a little bit of eraser still trapped. The eraser end has looked similar to the freshly scraped edges of a block of Parmesan cheese. I spit out the rest of the eraser. Eraser burns were really popular when I was in junior high. Popular enough that there was a PSA about the dangers of eraser burns. I never thought it was cool. I thought it was really stupid, to be honest. Then again, a lot of what was popular back then was stupid. Not much has changed, has it? Once again, the smell of freshly sharpened end of the pencil demands to be noticed, and I'm transported back to grade school at the smell of the pencil sharpener. I can hear the laughter of my classmates as our pent-up energy is coming to a head. Days and days of indoor recess, thanks to all the snow, makes for a volatile situation. Hey, you need to get to writing. Ugh, ADD. It's the worst as an adult. A blank page. What is up with that tightness in my chest? That is not normal for our daily anxiety, is it? Maybe it's... No. Best not think about that, because that will lead to the other thing that I cannot name. Naming it makes it real, and I cannot afford to have that be real right now. But naming both things that, yet being unable to tell the difference, is you considering both options. And you can only consider both options if you've accepted that those could be happening. Rotten fucking brain. It's not a heart attack. Chest tightens more. Breathing becomes more labored. Fuck. I didn't want to call it that. That particular that is always the first to come to mind and is always the least likely. Your grandpa and your uncle weren't that much older when they had theirs and died of heart attacks, and your grandpa was much younger than you when he had his first one. I'm fully aware of that, you rotten brain. How else are you able to tell me these things? Great, I'm having an argument with my own mind. That's crazy, isn't it? It is, and you should kill yourself. How about you fuck off into a traffic, brain? Okay? I have a more important thing to do. A blank page. So write already, fraud. Write. I won't stop you. I hate myself sometimes. Then kill yourself. Go ahead. You know you want to. Sadly, I kinda do. I won't, though. Life is so much better with me in it than not. Are you sure? Piss off, self-esteem issues. I could pull out my phone, get into fights on Twitter, and feel better about myself for a short moment when I prove someone is dumber than me. But what does that get you? Honestly, nothing. But I do get to escape from my rotten fucking brain for a little bit. I could use a nap. I'll be here when you're done, avoiding it, doing anything and everything else that you should be doing, and I'll mock you even worse for it. I'm just so tired. My chest hurts. My stomach hurts. Pretty sure my left arm is hurting and is purely psychosomatic. Only an EEG could tell for sure. Damn, I wish I had an Apple Watch Series 4 right now. Wait, I should be writing. A blank page. Maybe after a nap. Down all the pills in the bathroom, then nap. No. Are you sure you aren't having a heart attack? Yes. How can you be so sure? Because it's just a panic attack. How does it feel now that you just acknowledge the thing you're having as opposed to the one you're trying to deny it? Happened anyway, didn't it? Just like it always does. Shut up, brain. But if it lasts longer than 5 minutes, then maybe it is a heart attack and you missed your opportunity to call for help. Who needs suicide when you'll die of natural causes instead? Shut up, brain. You can still call 911. Slow, deep breaths. Listen to the bird chirping outside. Listen to the people mowing their yard down the street. Smell the clean after-rain air. Suit yourself, but your writing still needs to get done. God damn it. A blank page.
That sounds like so many conversations that I have had with myself.
Yeah. There was also another one I wrote a while back called Insurmountable Task. If you ever want to hear that, you can go to SoundCloud, look up Insurmountable Tasks, and it's there. It's actually probably more brutal. But I can't find where I wrote it down. It's just gone now.
Thank you for sharing, E.
Yeah. And then if it wasn't for people's reactions like what I just got from Sarah, I never would have started this podcast. I would have lost friends. Us and Sarah and I wouldn't be as close as we are. Sarah with the H I don't know that we'd be this close. Never would have met C. Never would have gotten as close with Bexy. Never would have learned deeper parts of Ivania that I didn't know before. Or myself. And when I say it was a catalyst, I meant it. But for every... what?
Said the seed of growth of so much.
And this is not the end. Like I said, we're still going to... I'll keep monitoring. Still have the Discord. I have no problems with doing occasional pre-recorded episodes and just throwing them out there. Yeah, it won't be regular. And who knows? May come back to this. May come back after the summer and be like, shit, I really miss this. I need this in my life. I don't know. I just don't know. I just do know that I need to step back for right now.
It's good that you're taking the time you need for yourself, but at the same time, you're not painting Am I Mental into a box, of closure, So there's options.
Yeah. And I mean, and if this is the closure, so be it. I can be at peace with that.
Yeah, a lot of good has been done.
Yeah.
And Kat, thank you for that. She just said that I'm a very expressive writer.
You are?
I've been getting a lot of help with writing since 97? From one of the people in this room right now. Some English major that has always helped to correct me on things and helped to learn how to be more expressive. Yeah, Vanya, I'm talking about you. I see you smirking. English and journalism. Whew. And had you known that journalism would be dead by now, would you have still done it?
No.
That's fair. All right, Am I Mental family? All the listeners currently, past, future, thank you for sharing this journey with us. Thank you for taking a part of it. The website will stay up. The emails will stay up. If you want to reach out to us, do so. Join our Discord. Let us know. If you have something you really want to share, one of us will make it work. We will get you an episode. Maybe a pre-recorded episode, but we'll get you one. This is not the end. And without that, anything else to say, I guess? I'm having a very hard time ending this because I really don't want to, but...
Well, it's not goodbye. It's so long for now.
I like that.
Later, alligator.
Yep. And E, thank you for giving all of us, for creating something and giving all of us the opportunity to make an impact. Like all this started with you, and you had a moment that was the catalyst to help you create this, and through that you gave all of us here the opportunity to put in the work and to help others. So thank you for that.
And you could have been territorial about it, but you haven't.
You're super humble.
Yeah.
The first episode with Oz as a co-host, I almost got territorial. I almost did. I was sitting there going, motherfucker's taking all my thunder. And I went, wait, he's saying some really incredible shit.
He has that
Sit back and listen.
He has that effect on people.
Oh,
At my brief moments, you just got most of them. That's all it is.
No, seriously, Oz, I mean, I never would have thought that I would have found a brother in you, like, in a million years. I met you a few times, and I was like, he's a cool dude. I had no issues with you. But then to have this come about it, like, thank you. Thank you for making this connection happen, to bring Oz into this, by being a guest and having Oz listen. Thank you. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. So my alarm to listen to the podcast when she was a guest still goes off on Thursdays. My lazy ass just hasn't turned it off. So every Thursday it still goes off and says, listen to T's podcast.
You know, you didn't have to set repeating.
Well, that's how I listened to her podcast, and then I didn't miss a single one after that.
No, you didn't. That was awesome.
So I just left it on.
And we need to go take another walk around Folsom Lake now that it's full.
Super down.
I am so down. We got to.
It's beautiful out there.
It is. All right, so everyone, once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my soul, from the cockles of my soul. If you know that song, we could be friends. I love you all, and we'll catch you next time. Till then, I'm E.
I'm Oz.
Sarah.
Come on, you two.
Sarah with an H.
I was waiting.
Right, now,
So I was waiting on you, girl.
and now everybody else, join the Discord now. Now, emmamental.net. And then go join the Discord now.